Tonight, you are invited to listen to the reflections shared by Dharma in Motion. This is a space where we walk together on the journey of wisdom and peace, where the teachings of the Buddha are breathed into modern life, so that each night you may find lightness and each sleep may become more serene. This journey is not merely about hearing a story or a philosophy, but about sitting down, breathing slowly, allowing the mind to relax, releasing the day's burdens, and welcoming a truly peaceful sleep. Forgiveness, this is one of the most beautiful qualities the human heart can cultivate. Yet forgiveness is not easy. When we are hurt, misunderstood, betrayed, or insulted, the natural reaction is to protect ourselves, to fight back, or to hold on to anger as if it were armor. But the more tightly we hold it, the heavier it becomes. Anger is like a burning coal we clutch in our hand, thinking we will throw it at another, but in the end, it is our own hand that is burned. The Buddha once reminded us, if we do not let go of hatred, we can never walk freely. The one who holds on to anger is bound by the very chains of their own emotions. In modern life, with pressures from work, relationships, and family piling up, we may not only be hurt by loved ones or friends, but also by fleeting words on social media, disapproving glances from colleagues, or even a careless comment online. If we do not know how to release, we carry all these things into our sleep. The body lies on the bed, but the mind still spins, restless and uneasy. How many times have you closed your eyes but sleep would not come, because your head kept replaying those words and images that wounded you? The truth is, it is not others who rob us of sleep. It is our own unwillingness to forgive, our inability to let go that binds us so. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting or condoning what is wrong, nor does it mean allowing others to continue harming us. Forgiveness simply means we stop letting our mind be imprisoned by anger. It is first and foremost a gift we give ourselves, before it is ever a gift to others. Because when we forgive, it is we who become lighter, freer, and able to sleep peacefully in calm. A heart that knows forgiveness is a heart no longer bound by the past, no longer chained by painful memories, but wide open to embrace the life present in each breath. Some may ask, but how can I forgive someone who has caused me so much pain? The answer does not lie in forgetting everything in one day. Forgiveness is a process. It begins with realizing that holding on to anger does not make us happier. It continues with practicing deep breathing, observing our emotions as if watching a cloud drift across the sky, coming, then going, but never permanent. Slowly, the heat of anger cools, the sharpness of pain softens, and we begin to notice a space for compassion within us. Think for a moment about yourself. In life, perhaps more than once, you too have caused others pain, intentionally or not, and you too have longed for forgiveness, a chance to make things right. If we wish to be forgiven, then let us also grant forgiveness. We forgive not because others deserve it, but because we choose peace. In modern life, many turn to meditation or Dharma talks not only to understand teachings, but to find deep sleep after stressful days. True rest does not come from whether the room is quiet, but from whether the heart is at ease. A person filled with anger cannot sleep soundly, even on the softest bed in the most beautiful room. Conversely, one who knows how to forgive and let go needs only a simple corner to rest peacefully. The Buddha once said, "To conquer thousands in battle is not as great as to conquer oneself." Forgiveness is such a silent victory. It is a triumph over ego, over stubbornness, over the urge to control and retaliate. When we forgive, we are practicing compassion, not only toward others, but toward ourselves. And that compassion is the door that opens to freedom, to peaceful sleep. Tonight, before you close your eyes, try sitting quietly for a while. Inhale deeply, feeling the fresh air entering your body. Exhale slowly, letting sadness and anger leave with your breath. If there is still someone in your heart who stirs unrest, imagine them standing before you. You do not need to say anything grand. Just smile gently and whisper within, "I choose to forgive you so I may sleep peacefully." That is a small step, but it can transform your entire being tonight. When we forgive, we do not only open our hearts to others, we open our hearts to ourselves. We allow ourselves to live lightly, no longer burdened by the past. The night becomes calmer, sleep deeper, and in the morning you awaken with a free heart. And this is the very first message Dharma in Motion wishes to share with you on this long journey. Forgive to be free, to keep a tranquil heart, and to let sleep become a precious gift each day. Having opened ourselves to forgiveness as a doorway into peaceful sleep, tonight let us look more deeply into the question, why does forgiveness hold such immense transformative power? Is it merely a moral act, or is it also a medicine for our mental and physical well-being? Modern scientists have shown that when people nurture anger and hatred, the body releases stress hormones such as cortisol, which increase heart rate, raise blood pressure, and weaken the immune system. Prolonged exposure to this state can lead to insomnia, depression, anxiety, and various illnesses. But when we practice forgiveness, the body releases positive hormones like oxytocin and serotonin, which calm the mind and make sleep easier. This shows that forgiveness is not only a moral concept, but also an art of caring for oneself. In the scriptures, the Buddha often emphasized the connection between mind and body. A mind full of anger will drain the body, while a tranquil mind will nourish a healthy body. Therefore, forgiveness is a holistic therapy. It heals emotional wounds and brings peace to the body. When we let go of hatred, we no longer waste energy clinging to it. We free that energy to devote to more positive things, like loving, creating, learning, and living fully in each moment. In daily life, it is easy to be pulled into small conflicts. A colleague who speaks carelessly, a friend who breaks a promise, or a family member who acts without sensitivity. If we hold on to anger each time, soon our heart will become a storage of sorrowful fragments. Each fragment is a rope tying us to the past. Forgiveness is the act of loosening those ropes so that the heart can open again. There is a story told in Buddhism. Two monks were passing by a river and saw a woman struggling to cross. One monk carried her across on his back. Afterward, the two continued their journey. Several kilometers later, the younger monk reproached him. "You are a monk. Why did you carry a woman on your back?" The elder smiled. "I put her down at the riverbank long ago. Why are you still carrying her?" The story is simple yet profound. Often the event has long passed, but we still hold on, still blame, still suffer. Forgiveness is putting that burden down so that our steps may be light again. In modern life, we too carry countless women by the riverbank. Childhood memories, reproaches from parents, failures at work, or broken relationships. We do not realize that we are carrying them all, growing more exhausted each day. Each night before sleep, we replay those memories as if sprinkling salt on our wounds. But if we dare to release them, to forgive the past, we will find our body and soul incredibly light. Forgiveness is also a way to learn about impermanence. The Buddha taught that everything changes, nothing lasts forever. The person who hurt us today may change tomorrow. Even we ourselves are changing day by day. So why let past events imprison our minds? Forgiveness is seeing through the lens of impermanence, recognizing that everything can shift, and that we have the choice to live differently, with more ease and openness. Sometimes forgiveness is not only for others, but also for ourselves. How many times have we blamed ourselves for a past mistake, replaying the thought, "if only," again and again? The truth is, no one can turn back time. We can only learn the lesson from the past, Then forgive ourselves so we can continue moving forward. Forgiving ourselves does not mean excusing mistakes, but understanding that we are human, that we too were once fragile, and that we too have the chance to grow. Without forgiving ourselves, we become prisoners of our own past. A friend once shared with me that every night she would recall a mistake at work from years ago. Just a small error, but it cost her a chance at promotion. For years, she did not allow herself to sleep peacefully, carrying guilt without rest. Only when she learned to forgive herself could she finally breathe easily and enjoy a full night's sleep. Forgiving oneself is no less important than forgiving others, for both are acts of liberating the heart. Tonight, before you fall asleep, take a few minutes to reflect. Did something today make you angry? Did someone upset you? Was there a mistake you blamed yourself for? Write them down on paper, then gently whisper, "I choose to forgive that person. I choose to forgive myself. I choose peace." Then fold the paper, set it aside, and allow yourself to rest. Tonight, let forgiveness become the softest pillow you gift yourself. Forgiveness is a long journey, not something completed in one night. But as long as we begin, step by step, each passing day will feel lighter. Our sleep will deepen, and when morning comes, we will find our hearts opening a little more. In this way, forgiveness ceases to be a distant idea and becomes breath itself, rhythm of life, the very source of freedom. Tonight, let us once again sit quietly, breathe slowly, and listen to the voice of the heart. The journey of forgiveness is not about pleasing others, but about setting ourselves free. Perhaps you have already begun practicing forgiveness from earlier lessons, yet at times you may find anger returning, old memories resurfacing. This does not mean you have failed. It is simply a natural part of the healing process. Forgiveness is not a door that opens and closes instantly. It is a path we walk, step by step. The Buddha once taught, "The mind is like a lake. When undisturbed, it reflects the entire sky." If we still hold on to anger, our mind is like a disturbed lake, unable to reflect clearly. Forgiveness is the act of calming those waves. When we forgive, we allow the lake of our heart to return to stillness, reflecting truth and revealing the essence of life. Impermanence, non-self, and interdependence. In modern life, perhaps each day we encounter dozens of small situations that irritate us. A message left unanswered, a harsh-sounding remark, or even a fleeting look of judgment. If we let all these become small flames in our heart, then in just one day, the heart will already be filled with smoke. Forgiveness here does not mean overlooking great injustices, but first learning to release the small things, for it is often the small things that exhaust us the most. Imagine this. Each day you pick up a pebble and put it in your backpack. One pebble may seem insignificant, but if over months and years you carry hundreds or thousands, you will be utterly worn down. Anger and resentment are the same. Forgiveness is the act of taking out those pebbles one by one, making the journey of life lighter. Tonight, as you lie down, you might ask yourself, how many pebbles did I carry today? And how many can I set down so that sleep may come more easily? Forgiveness is not only a personal act, but also something that radiates through relationships. The happiness or suffering of a family largely depends on the ability to forgive one another. Loved ones can hurt us more easily because we expect more from them. A parent's harsh word, a spouse's indifference, or a child's carelessness can all leave scars on the heart. But if each member of the family knows how to let go, how to forgive, the home becomes a true refuge. If everyone holds on to anger, that home turns into a battlefield. Forgiveness in the family is not weakness. It is the strength that protects shared peace. In the workplace, forgiveness also plays an important role. Conflicts with colleagues, disagreements with a boss, or injustices in the environment can leave us carrying resentment back home. If we do not know how to let go, we bring these burdens into our sleep, making even our dreams heavy. Forgiveness here does not mean accepting injustice. It means choosing not to let such things destroy our inner peace. When we release, we gain the clarity to handle situations with wisdom instead of being driven by emotions. The Buddha once said, "Hatred cannot end hatred. Only compassion can extinguish hatred." Forgiveness is the first step toward compassion. Forgiveness is not only for family and friends, but also for strangers. On the street, you may be jostled. In communication, you may be misunderstood. In society, you may be judged. If you hold on to all of this, you will exhaust yourself. But when you know how to forgive, you understand that the other person acts as they do because they too are suffering. They cannot offer you gentleness because they have not found peace within themselves. Realizing this, we can empathize instead of getting angry. Forgiveness also opens the door to creativity and growth. When the mind is bound by hatred, our energy is consumed. But when we forgive, the mind is freed, and we can use that energy for learning, creating, and loving. An artist cannot create with a heart full of anger. A father or mother cannot nurture their children with warmth if their heart is full of bitterness. Forgiveness transforms negative energy into positive energy, turns darkness into light. Tonight, try a simple practice. As you lie down, imagine your heart as a room. In that room, there are corners filled with the darkness of anger and resentment. Open the window and let the light of compassion and forgiveness shine in. Slowly, those corners brighten. You do not need to chase away the darkness. Just allow the light to enter and the darkness will naturally disappear. Forgiveness is like that light. It does not need to erase the past, only to give the present a chance to shine. Remember, forgiveness is not a destination, but a journey. Each day we can forgive a little more, let go a little more. Like patiently untangling knots, eventually the tangled rope becomes straight. Forgiveness is patience with ourselves, patience with life. When we are patient, forgiveness gradually becomes instinct, no longer a forced effort. And when forgiveness becomes breath itself, sleep becomes a miracle. We close our eyes in lightness, free from the noise in our heads, free from restless dreams. Instead, we find deep rest where the mind truly relaxes. Tonight, let forgiveness accompany you into sleep as a gentle and warm friend. If you find these reflections bring peace to your heart, please like and subscribe to Dharma in Motion. Together, we can plant more seeds of peace in life. Tonight, we return once more to a space of stillness where only the breath and inner peace remain. The journey of forgiveness is like a river, at first muddy and rushing, but with patience it settles and becomes clear. Forgiveness is not about proving ourselves noble, but about allowing the heart to find serenity. And each night, when the soul is cleansed of burdens, sleep arrives as a gift. There is a truth that many of us are not afraid of hard work, but we fear facing our own emotions. The difficulty does not lie in what others have done to hurt us, but in our refusal to let go of those wounds. Like someone with a thorn in their foot, who, instead of removing it, clings to the pain and laments. Forgiveness is the act of pulling out the thorn. When we forgive, the pain does not vanish immediately, but it no longer digs deeper or continues to harm. In the Dharma, forgiveness has its roots in compassion. Compassion is not pity nor weakness, but the deep insight that all beings carry their own suffering. The one who hurt us is, in truth, also someone in pain. They act wrongly because they have not understood, have not awakened, and have not found peace within. If we see them as a child lost on the road, it becomes easier to feel compassion. Forgiveness is not complicity, but seeing deeply that the root of all actions lies in ignorance and suffering. Think back to a time when you were angry and hurt someone. In that moment, were you truly happy? Or was your own heart tangled and restless? If we can recognize this in ourselves, we can understand that others are the same. They may hurt us, but deep inside, they too are suffering. When we understand, we can forgive. And forgiveness is the first step in freeing both sides from the cycle of resentment. In modern life, there is a common illness, the illness of comparison. Social media makes it easy to see others' successes, but few share their true inner pain. When we are compared to others, or when we compare ourselves, jealousy, blame, and anger often arise. If these emotions are not recognized, they grow into a deep chasm. Forgiveness here means not only forgiving others, but also forgiving ourselves for falling into the trap of comparison. We learn to smile and remind ourselves, everyone has their own path. I am complete as I am. There is a story of a student who came to his teacher and asked, "Master, I want to let go of hatred, but why is it so hard?" The teacher looked at him, poured a full glass of water, and handed it to him. After a while, the teacher asked, "Is it heavy?" The student replied, "At first, no, but holding it for long, my arm grows tired." The teacher smiled. Hatred is the same. You may bear it for a moment, but if you hold it forever, it will exhaust you. Forgiveness is putting the glass down. The simple lesson reminds us that forgiveness is not only a moral choice, but also a practical liberation. In social relationships, forgiveness helps us live more harmoniously. At work, among friends, or even in passing encounters, we cannot avoid friction. But if we know how to forgive, we will not turn friction into conflict. Forgiveness is the art of turning stones into sand. When a stone falls into a lake, it creates large waves. But when that stone is ground into sand and falls, the lake remains calm. Forgiveness is how we soften the hard rocks within, so that life itself becomes lighter. Forgiveness also opens a doorway to sleep. Perhaps you have experienced restless nights when the mind keeps replaying an argument, a wound, or a sad memory. But when you truly forgive, those loops stop. The mind is no longer bound to the past. Instead, it becomes still, like a quiet garden in the night. And in that garden, sleep arrives gently like a cool breeze. Tonight, you can try a simple practice. Before sleep, imagine yourself sitting under a great tree, its shade covering you. In your hand is a yellow leaf, symbolizing the sadness, anger, or hurt you still carry. Place that leaf on your palm, then slowly open your hand, letting the wind take it away. As the leaf leaves your hand, softly whisper within, "I choose to let go. I choose to forgive." Just this small visualization can help your heart release, and sleep will come like a refreshing stream. Forgiveness also helps us see life with new eyes. When no longer clouded by anger, we see the beauty of the present more clearly. The laughter of a child, the fragrance of a flower, the gentle light of the moon, all become vivid. Forgiveness not only frees us from the past, but also opens the door to the joy of the present. And when we live fully in the present, sleep becomes the natural continuation of a peaceful soul. It is important to remember that forgiveness does not mean allowing others to continue harming us. Forgiveness is releasing hatred in the heart, while also knowing how to guard and protect ourselves. We can forgive, yet also establish healthy boundaries. Forgiveness is laying down the burden, not losing clarity. With wisdom, we learn how to forgive in a way that preserves both our peace and our well-being. And tonight, as you close your eyes, remember that forgiveness is a gift you give yourself. No one else can bring you sleep but you. When you forgive, you open the door for sleep to enter, like a kind friend visiting in the night. Forgiveness is not just about yesterday, it is the key to the peace of tonight. This evening, we once again sit quietly as a way of returning to ourselves after a long day. Perhaps you have faced weariness, friction, and heavy-hearted moments, but now try letting them all go, leaving only breath and presence. Forgiveness, as we have reflected in previous parts, is not only an outward act, but an inward practice. And the deeper we go, the more we see that forgiveness is the path back to inner freedom. Sometimes anger does not come from others, but from our own expectations. We want someone to understand us, to love us, to act the way we wish. But when reality differs, we feel betrayed and hurt. Forgiveness in this case is forgiving unmet expectations, forgiving the rigidity within our own mind. When we learn to open our hearts and accept that everyone has their limits, disappointment fades. Forgiveness then becomes the release of expectations. The Buddha taught that the roots of suffering are greed, anger, and ignorance. When we do not get what we want, we become angry. When we cling to our own views, we fall into delusion. Forgiveness is a way to cut back these roots. Forgiving others, forgiving circumstances, forgiving ourselves, all are ways of loosening the bonds of greed, anger, and ignorance. And as those bonds gradually loosen, the soul feels liberated and the body finds ease. In modern life, many people suffer from what might be called a busy mind. They work all day, and even when they lie down to sleep, their thoughts keep spinning. This constant activity disturbs their rest. Few realize that the root of this busyness is our refusal to let go. We cannot let go of what happened today, of someone's words, or of the image we want to maintain of ourselves. Forgiveness is a practice of release, letting go of what has passed, so the mind is no longer trapped in endless loops. Forgiveness, in this sense, is one of the most natural sedatives. There is a story in the scriptures of a prisoner freed after many years of captivity. Yet when he left the cell, he still walked in small steps, still felt as though he were chained, and trembled at the sound of doors closing. His mind was not truly free. We are the same. When we hold on to anger, we imprison ourselves. Forgiveness is the act of opening the cell door. But if we do not step out, freedom remains only a concept. Thus, forgiveness is not just words. It is the courage to step out of the habit of clinging. Tonight, we can begin by allowing the mind to relax. In friendship, forgiveness acts as a bridge. Many friendships break over small misunderstandings or words left unexplained. If both cling to their ego and refuse to forgive, the bridge collapses. But if even one opens their heart and says, "I forgive you," the bridge is rebuilt. Forgiveness does not mean everything returns instantly to what it once was, but it creates the possibility of healing. And sometimes that possibility is exactly what both friends need to grow. In love, forgiveness is even more vital. Love is not always sweet. It brings challenges, clashes, and mistakes. Without forgiveness, love withers in reproach. With forgiveness, love can be reborn in understanding. Forgiveness in love is not just overlooking faults. It is learning to see the beloved with fresh eyes, with greater appreciation. Forgiveness transforms love from a bond of possession into a bond of nourishment. Some think forgiveness makes them weak, giving others the advantage. But in truth, forgiveness is not about others winning. It is about us winning ourselves. Forgiveness is the mark of inner strength, for only those who are steady can set down their burdens. The weak need to cling to anger as armor. The strong dare to take it off, to walk lightly. Forgiveness is not defeat. It is victory. Victory over the ego, victory over the darkness within. Tonight, try a simple practice. As you lie down, place your hand on your chest and feel your heartbeat. Each beat reminds you that you are alive, that you still have the chance to love and to let go. Close your eyes and softly say, "I forgive you. I forgive myself. I choose peace." Repeat it a few times as a lullaby to yourself. Gradually, you will feel the soul quiet down, and sleep will come gently like drifting clouds. Forgiveness also teaches us the lesson of non-self. When we still think, "I was insulted, I was hurt," we are clinging to the self. But when we look deeply, we see that this self is also a flowing stream, ever-changing. The one who insulted us yesterday may no longer remember today. The self that was hurt yesterday has already changed by today. So why let what is not truly permanent bind us? Forgiveness is a way of letting go of the self, to touch the essence of non-self in life. And when we touch non-self, freedom comes naturally, like a bird soaring in the vast sky. When we understand forgiveness, we also learn the art of living slowly. Living slowly does not mean delaying, but rather not letting the mind be swept away by the rush of life. Forgiveness teaches us to pause, to look deeply into our emotions, and then to let go. Each time we forgive, we teach our mind patience, generosity, and the ability to rest in the present moment. And the present, with all its peace, is the gift we give ourselves each night. Tonight, as you close your eyes, remember, forgiveness is not only an act, but a way of living. Forgive to live more lightly, to love more fully, to sleep more deeply. Forgiveness is not only for yesterday, but also for tonight, for this very moment. And when you sleep in forgiveness, you will awaken in freedom. This evening, we again sit in familiar stillness. Each night is like a stopping point where we set down the luggage of the day. In that luggage are joys, small successes, but also sadness, friction, and lingering regrets. Forgiveness is the act of opening that backpack, removing what is unnecessary and leaving it by the roadside. Only then can we continue with lighter steps, and only then can sleep arrive naturally. In previous reflections, we spoke of forgiveness as a journey of letting go, an art of transforming anger into compassion. But forgiveness does not stop at releasing hatred. It is also learning to see life with a broader heart. Forgiveness is the maturity of the soul. In youth, we are quick to anger, quick to cling, quick to be hurt by a word or a gesture. But when we mature in awareness, we learn to smile at such things, because we understand that life is impermanent and nothing is worth suffering endlessly over. A Buddhist story tells of two people walking along a road. One carried a heavy bag of rice, the other carried a bundle of flowers. The one with rice soon grew tired, complaining about the long road and the hot sun. The one with flowers walked lightly, enjoying the sight and fragrance, and arrived at the destination with joy. Forgiveness is like setting down the heavy bag of rice and replacing it with flowers. If we carry resentment, the journey becomes exhausting. But if we choose forgiveness, we can see and savor the beauty of life. In modern life, many see forgiveness as distant because society glorifies competition and strength. People fear that forgiveness makes them weak, that letting go will let others take advantage. But the truth is the opposite. Forgiveness is not abandoning strength. It is using strength wisely. Forgiveness does not mean letting others do whatever they want, but refusing to let them continue to control our minds. Forgiveness is reclaiming mastery over our own thoughts. Reflect on your day. How many times did you let others rent space in your mind for free? A careless word, a judgmental look, a negative comment, all of them taking up room in your thoughts, leaving you busy and tired. Forgiveness is the way to evict those tenants, making the house of your heart clean and uncluttered. When the mind is no longer occupied, you are truly free. And that very freedom is the foundation of deep sleep. Forgiveness also teaches us a great lesson about impermanence. The one who hurt us today may be different tomorrow. The situation that made us angry today may already be gone by tomorrow. Even we ourselves are no longer the same as we were yesterday. If everything changes, why do we cling to pain as though it were permanent? Forgiveness is the acceptance of impermanence. It is moving with the flow instead of against it. When we know that all things pass, it becomes easier to set them down and rest peacefully. There may be nights when your mind still feels restless, not yet ready for sleep. In those moments, try the practice of forgiveness meditation. Sit or lie comfortably, close your eyes and take a deep breath. In your mind, call to mind someone who once made you sad. Then softly say within, "I forgive you. I wish you peace." Next, call your own name and whisper, "I forgive myself. I wish myself peace." Just a few minutes of this practice can calm the heart, and sleep will arrive like a gentle breeze. Forgiveness is also a gift for the next generation. A father or mother who clings to anger unknowingly passes that energy to their children. Children raised in a house full of blame easily carry scars into adulthood. But if parents know how to forgive and let go, the home becomes fertile ground for love to grow. Forgiveness then is not only healing for ourselves, it is an inheritance of peace for our children. Sometimes forgiveness is a long journey, stretching over years, but sometimes it arrives in a sudden moment of awakening. It may happen when we see a child laughing and realize life is too short to hold on to anger, or when we witness someone ill and understand how fragile life is, making resentment meaningless. These moments awaken us, helping us release what we have clung to for so long. Forgiveness requires patience, yet it can also arise in an instant of clarity. Tonight, before sleep, remind yourself with one simple phrase: "Life is short, why stay angry long?" Let this phrase be your lullaby, guiding you into slumber. When we see that life is fragile, we no longer waste time on hatred. Forgiveness then becomes a natural choice, like breathing, like smiling. And sleep comes as the continuation of a soul that has chosen peace. When forgiveness becomes part of daily life, you will notice a profound change. Not only is your sleep deeper, but even upon waking, you feel lighter. Forgiveness helps us not only to rest peacefully at night, but also to live peacefully during the day. This is the deep meaning of the Buddha's teaching. Let go to find peace. Tonight, let forgiveness be like the gentle moonlight shining into your heart. Let sleep become a calm river, carrying you into peace. Forgiveness is the bridge from day to night, from pain to serenity, from bondage to freedom. And as you step across that bridge, you will see that freedom is not far away. It is right here, in each breath, in each peaceful sleep. This evening, as we sit in stillness, ask yourself, what weighs on me most right now? It may be an old memory, a hurtful word, or an event that still makes the heart ache. These are like dark clouds covering the sky of the mind. Forgiveness is the gentle wind that clears the clouds, allowing the light to shine through again. But to forgive, we must first dare to face. Many mistake forgiveness for forgetting. But in truth, forgetting is not always liberation. Sometimes we push things aside to temporarily forget, but in the subconscious, the wound remains, waiting to resurface. Forgiveness is not forcing ourselves to forget. It is daring to look directly at the pain and smile. You no longer control me. When we do this, the memory remains, but it no longer has the power to bind us. In Buddhism, there is a beautiful word, letting go. Letting means putting something down, and go means not holding anything in the heart. Forgiveness is letting go, putting down the burden so that your hands are free to welcome happiness. Letting go of bitterness so that your heart has space for love. And when we let go before sleep, the mind becomes peaceful, and sleep naturally becomes deeper and sweeter. There is a story about a Zen master. One day, someone insulted him harshly, but he only smiled. A student asked, "Master, why aren't you angry?" The Zen master replied, "If someone offers you a gift, but you do not accept it, to whom does the gift belong?" The student answered, "To the giver." The master nodded. "Exactly. They offered me anger, but I did not accept it, so the anger remains theirs." Forgiveness is the same. When we do not accept hatred, we have forgiven, and naturally, we are free. In modern life, people sometimes get angry easily over very small things. A traffic jam, a critical comment online, or an unexpected delay is enough to upset us. If every day we accumulate those irritations, then when night comes, our sleep cannot be peaceful. Forgiveness in such cases is not about forgiving great wrongs, but about learning to lighten the heart over small matters. Lightening the heart so that it does not carry burdens, allowing sleep to be pure. Imagine this. You are holding a glass of water. At first, it is not heavy, but if you keep holding that glass for hours, your arm will ache and tire. Anger is the same. It is not frightening if it passes quickly, but if we hold on to it all day, all month, all year, it will exhaust our heart and mind. Forgiveness is simply putting the glass down. When we set it down, we feel lighter immediately. And each night, before sleeping, practice putting down all the glasses you are still holding. In relationships, one very important thing to forgive is the small mistakes of each other. A partner forgets a promise, a child makes a mistake, a colleague is clumsy. If we cling to each small fault, little by little we will turn the relationship into a burden. But if we know how to forgive, we will see those mistakes as dust on a lens. Just wipe it away, and the lens is clear again. Forgiveness is the soft cloth that wipes away the dust, allowing us to look at each other with clearer eyes. Forgiveness also helps us live true to our own heart, because when we do not forgive, we often hide our emotions, pretending to be strong while our heart is full of storms. This causes mind and body to be out of harmony, and over time it can cause illness. But when we forgive, we release emotions, letting the mind be light and the body relaxed. Many modern studies have also proven forgiveness lowers blood pressure, reduces stress, and improves sleep. Thus, forgiveness is not only a spiritual concept, but also medicine for the body. Tonight, you can try a small practice. Write on a piece of paper the name of a person or an event that hurt you. Then add the sentence, "I forgive you, I forgive myself." Fold the paper and set it aside. This small act is like a ritual of letting go, helping your mind feel lighter. When you go to sleep, you will find your heart more at ease and sleep will come more quickly. Forgiveness also teaches us gratitude. It may sound strange, but it is true. For each person who hurt us unintentionally became a teacher, giving us lessons about patience, about letting go, about love. Without them, we would have fewer chances to grow in consciousness. Therefore, forgiveness is not only about releasing anger, but also about being grateful to life for giving us the chance to learn and grow. When the heart is grateful, it becomes more peaceful and sleep becomes deeper. Remember, forgiveness is not something we do once and it is done. It needs to be practiced every day, like sweeping the house. Dust is always there and we need to sweep regularly. The mind is the same. Anger and hurt can always return, and we need to practice forgiveness often. Each night before sleep, see forgiveness as a way of sweeping the dust from the mind. Tomorrow, when you wake up, you will feel your soul brighter. And finally, forgiveness is an act of self-love. When we forgive, we tell ourselves, "I deserve peace. I deserve a good night's sleep." It is not a favor to others, but a gift to ourselves. Forgiveness is the greatest love we can give to ourselves. Tonight, let forgiveness become a soft blanket covering your soul. Let sleep be the moment when you are completely free, no longer bound by the past. Forgiveness is the key that opens the door to peaceful sleep, and also the door leading you to a lighter tomorrow. There are evenings when the sun slowly hides behind the mountains, We often stay silent to listen to the echoes of a day gone by. Sometimes those echoes carry joy, but at other times they are the reverberations of misunderstandings, of words left unsaid, or of sadness lingering in the heart. Forgiveness is how we close a day, so that when night falls, the soul is no longer burdened. People often ask, "How do I know I have truly forgiven?" The answer does not lie in words, but in the calmness of the heart. When we recall an old story and the heart no longer aches, when we think of someone who once hurt us and our eyes can still hold a touch of compassion, that is when we have walked a long way on the path of forgiveness. Forgiveness is not measured by promises, but by the lightness in every breath. Sometimes we think forgiveness is only for great matters, deep wounds, but in truth, forgiveness is also needed for very small things. A misunderstanding, a comment that makes us uncomfortable, a cold attitude from someone. All of these can unsettle the mind. If we cannot practice forgiveness in small matters, how can we let go of bigger ones? Forgiveness, therefore, should be seen as a daily habit, like drinking water, eating rice, or brushing your teeth before bed. The Buddha once taught, "Hatred is never appeased by hatred, only by compassion is hatred appeased." Compassion is the root of forgiveness. When we give rise to compassion, we see that the other person is just a human being in suffering. They hurt us not necessarily out of malice, but because they too are entangled in their own circle of suffering. When we understand this, forgiveness becomes easier because it is no longer a duty, but a natural act of compassion. In today's busy life, people often react more easily than they understand. A comment online, an unfriendly message, an action we don't like, all can become fuel for anger. But if each time we know how to pause, take a deep breath, and choose forgiveness, we will keep our peace. Forgiveness cannot change others immediately, but it will surely change our own state of mind. And when our state of mind changes, the whole world around us also changes. There is a beautiful metaphor. The soul is like a lake. When we are angry, the lake is stormy, unable to reflect anything clearly. When we forgive, the lake becomes calm, and everything is reflected in clarity. Sleep is the same. If we go to sleep in anger, we only carry storms into our dreams. But if we go to sleep in forgiveness, sleep will be like a still lake, reflecting a sky full of stars. A simple practice is that instead of carrying anger to bed, we can transform it into a blessing. Before closing your eyes, silently say, "May all beings be at peace. May I also be at peace." Just a few short words, but they are like a small lamp illuminating the dark room of the mind. When the light is lit, the darkness naturally disappears. Forgiveness, in its deepest meaning, is lighting that lamp. Forgiveness also helps us understand ourselves better. By observing our own reactions to hurt, we see how large our ego still is, how heavy our attachments remain. Each act of forgiveness is a chance to polish the ego, to make it lighter. Forgiveness, therefore, is not only an action toward others, but also an opportunity to grow in our own spiritual journey. In the family, forgiveness plays the role of water-nourishing trees. Every family has conflicts and misunderstandings. Without forgiveness, small cracks will eventually turn into deep rifts. But with forgiveness, every crack can be mended. Parents forgiving children, spouses forgiving each other, siblings forgiving one another. Such acts form the foundation of a lasting family. Forgiveness not only preserves kinship, but also creates a safe environment, a place where everyone can return and find peace. There is one important point. Forgiveness is not to let others repeat mistakes, but to prevent ourselves from repeating the pain within. Forgiveness does not mean ignoring all boundaries, but setting boundaries with clarity and compassion. We can forgive while still keeping the necessary distance to protect our peace. Forgiveness does not make us weaker, it makes us stronger because we know what to keep and what to let go. To practice forgiveness, you can try a small method at night. Imagine your heart as a room. In the room are chairs. On them sit memories, people, emotions that weigh you down. You walk in, smile, and say, "I know you are here. I do not drive you away, but I will not hold you anymore." Then you open the door, letting each guest leave. As the room empties, you see your heart's space become wider and brighter. In that openness, peace enters and sleep arrives like a gentle friend. Forgiveness is also a way of honoring life. Each passing day is a precious gift. If we waste that gift in anger and hatred, we are losing the chance to live fully. But if we use each day to love and forgive, we are turning the gift into something meaningful. And when night comes, we can smile peacefully, knowing we have lived a worthy day. When we understand forgiveness, we also learn how to truly rest. Resting is not only stopping work, but also stopping the struggle in the mind. Forgiveness is the rest of the soul. When we forgive, we no longer argue with memories, no longer rewrite scenarios in our heads, no longer cling to what has passed. Forgiveness lets the mind rest, and when the mind rests, the body rests too. Sleep, then, is not only the sleep of the body, but also the sleep of the soul. And then, in the stillness of the night, we realize forgiveness is not a destination, but a journey. Each day, we forgive a little more. Each night, we lighten our hearts a little more. Forgiveness is not a one-time act, but a breath, a rhythm of life. And it is precisely this journey that brings us to freedom. Freedom from the past, from hatred, from restless nights. There are moments in life when our hearts suddenly feel as heavy as stone. Not because of too much work, nor because the body is tired, but because within we are still holding on to something unforgiven. That heaviness may reveal itself through restless nights, unconscious sighs, or a sense of loneliness, even when surrounded by loved ones. Forgiveness at such times is like a door opening, leading us out of a dark room. People often think forgiveness is merely a moral act, a noble deed. But in truth, forgiveness is, first of all, wisdom. Wisdom because it frees us from the burden we ourselves are carrying. Forgiveness is not giving away to others, but giving back to ourselves the lightness we deserve. When we understand this, we realize forgiveness is no longer a difficult task, but a natural choice to live more easily. Imagine this. A traveler finds a stone on the road. Instead of putting it down, he slips it into his pocket and carries it along his journey. The stone is of no use. It only makes his coat heavier. Anger is the same. If we do not forgive, we are carrying a meaningless stone in the pocket of our soul. Forgiveness is simply taking that stone out and placing it back on the roadside. That's all. No drama, no grand gesture, just an ordinary decision, yet enough to make body and mind suddenly lighter. In the Dharma, forgiveness is not only overlooking mistakes, but also practicing non-self. When we forgive, we reduce the thought, "I am right, the other is wrong." We learn to see life as a flowing stream, where everyone sometimes stumbles, everyone sometimes lacks clarity. Forgiveness, then, is a broader view, one that transcends the boundaries of ego. When no longer bound by the self, our hearts naturally open wide, and that openness becomes the foundation of inner freedom. In modern society, we witness countless, endless arguments, both in daily life and online. People want to prove they are right, defending their ego at all costs. But what is the result? Both sides are exhausted and their sleep is far from peaceful. Forgiveness, in this case, is knowing when to stop. Not because we have lost, but because we have chosen peace. Sometimes the greatest victory is not winning or losing, but keeping the mind calm amidst the storm. Forgiveness is also deeply connected to health. Many studies show that those who harbor anger are more prone to insomnia, anxiety, and high blood pressure. Meanwhile, those who know how to forgive tend to have stronger immune systems, deeper sleep, and clearer minds. This proves that forgiveness is not only a spiritual ideal, but also a practical need of the body. Forgiveness is nourishment, a holistic medicine for healing. A simple story: there was a woman who resented her mother for a childhood lacking in love. She carried this resentment for decades, until one day, when she herself became a mother, she finally understood the hardships her own mother had endured. In that moment, she wept, and her anger turned into compassion. Forgiveness came not from logic, but from understanding. And from that day on, she slept more peacefully, her heart no longer heavy with hatred. Forgiveness, therefore, is tied to understanding. The more we understand, the easier it becomes to forgive. Sometimes forgiveness is forgiving life itself. We are angry because life is unfair, because of losses, because of dreams unfulfilled. But life is impermanent, sometimes rain, sometimes sunshine, sometimes smooth, sometimes rough. If we keep resenting life, we only make ourselves suffer. Forgiving life is accepting impermanence, accepting that everything is unfolding in its own way. In that acceptance, we stop blaming and the heart becomes light. You can try a small exercise before sleep. Close your eyes. Recall 3 things that made you unhappy during the day. For each one, silently say, "I accept, I let go, I forgive." Then think of 3 things you are grateful for, even as small as a smile, a cool breeze, or a glass of clear water. By combining forgiveness and gratitude in this way, your mind will become bright and warm. And when the mind is bright and warm, sleep will come as gently as a soft melody. Forgiveness also helps us live openly toward the future. When we cling to anger, we only see the world through the lens of the past. But when we forgive, we remove that lens and see the present more clearly. Thus, we can step into tomorrow with clear eyes and a light heart. Forgiveness is a gift to the future, for it gives us the chance to live a new day unclouded by the shadows of the old. Finally, forgiveness is a deeply human journey. It is not the path of distant saints, but the path of ordinary people with ordinary wounds. Each time we forgive, we light a candle in the darkness. Small as it may be, it is enough to show the way, enough to warm the heart. And when many candles are lit, the whole world becomes brighter and warmer. Let your sleep tonight be covered by that light. Forgiveness does not erase the past, but it transforms the past into lessons instead of wounds. Forgiveness does not change others, but it changes your own soul. Forgiveness does not make life less impermanent, but it helps you walk through impermanence with lighter steps. And that is the path leading to deep sleep, to a free tomorrow. At times, in quiet moments alone, we realize that the deepest wounds often come from those closest to us. A careless word from a parent, a partner's coldness, a broken promise from a dear friend, all leave scars in the heart. That is why forgiveness within family and close relationships is the greatest challenge, but also the door to the deepest freedom. Family is where we long for shelter, yet it is also where hidden wounds often form. If we hold on to resentment within the family, the home that should be warm becomes heavy instead. But if we know how to forgive, the home returns to its true meaning, a safe refuge. Forgiveness in family does not mean forgetting all mistakes, but understanding that everyone errs at times and that love is greater than the cracks. When we can forgive one another, happiness begins to bloom again. In a marriage, forgiveness acts as a bridge. Without forgiveness, small conflicts accumulate into large distances. But with forgiveness, those conflicts become opportunities to understand each other more deeply. Forgiveness does not weaken love, it strengthens it, because love then is no longer just early romance. but has matured into compassion. Forgiveness is the glowing ember that keeps the home warm. The same is true for parents and children. Some people spend their whole lives resenting their parents for the shortcomings of childhood. But when they themselves become parents, they finally understand how hard raising children can be. That moment of understanding is the doorway to forgiveness. Forgiveness does not erase childhood, but it frees us from being haunted by it. Forgiveness is reconciliation between generations, ensuring that the circle of family remains unbroken. In the workplace, forgiveness is also the key to maintaining peace. Colleagues may make mistakes, superiors may be strict, employees may be irresponsible. If we hold grudges over each thing, work will become an exhausting burden. But if we learn to forgive, we will see that every conflict is simply a lesson helping us grow. Forgiveness at work does not mean accepting injustice, but keeping the mind clear so as not to be dragged into a negative cycle. A small story: someone was sabotaged by a colleague and nearly lost a promotion opportunity. At first, he carried resentment for months, thinking about it every night and unable to sleep. Then one day, he suddenly realized it was holding on to the resentment that made him truly lose. The other person had taken away the opportunity, but he himself was allowing them to take away his peace as well. In that moment, he chose to forgive. From then on, his mind became brighter, and he soon found another opportunity. Forgiveness, therefore, is not about abandoning justice, but about protecting ourselves from losing even more. In broader social relationships, forgiveness also helps us keep a tranquil heart. Out there will always be people who judge, criticize, or misunderstand us. If we keep trying to argue back, we will become exhausted. Forgiveness in this case may simply be to smile and move on. We cannot please everyone, but we can keep our hearts at peace. Forgiveness on a larger scale is letting go of the need to be approved by all. Forgiveness must also go hand in hand with wisdom. If we only forgive without learning the lesson, we may easily repeat mistakes. But if we both forgive and learn, every wound becomes a precious lesson. Forgiveness is not naivety, but clarity. Forgiveness is not letting others continue to hurt us, but not letting ourselves continue to be hurt. Before sleep, you can practice in a simple way. Imagine all the faces of those who have hurt you appearing one by one. For each person, bow in your heart and say, "Thank you for the lesson. I forgive and let go." When you do this, you will feel the anger become less sharp, softening, fading away. Sleep afterward will be like a gentle rain, washing away the dust of the day. Forgiveness is also a gift you can give yourself at the end of the day. When you forgive, you are telling yourself, "I deserve to rest. I deserve a good night's sleep." This sentence may sound simple, but it has the power of a lullaby, leading the soul into peace. Forgiveness, therefore, is not only an outward act, but also an inward care. And then, when you close your eyes, you will see that all resentments are only passing clouds. Perhaps today the clouds are thick, covering the whole sky. But if you know how to forgive, the clouds will disperse, and the blue sky will reappear. Clear, peaceful sleep will come from there. Forgiveness, in the end, is so we can sleep well and wake with a heart renewed. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Dharma in Motion to continue walking together on the path back to stillness and peace. When we carefully observe life, we will see that most suffering does not come from external events, but from how we hold them in our hearts. A harsh word may last only a few seconds, but we may cling to it for months. A sad event may happen in a moment, but its memory can haunt us for years. Forgiveness is the art of changing our relationship with memory, not erasing memory, but removing the thorn stuck inside it. In the Dharma, people often speak of impermanence. Impermanence not only reminds us that everything changes, but also that even pain does not stay forever. What makes pain linger is our clinging. Forgiveness is letting go of clinging, allowing the past to pass in its true nature. Once we understand impermanence, forgiveness becomes easier because we realize nothing is worth holding on to forever in the heart. Take a look at yourself. How many times have you lost sleep because you remembered an old story, even though it happened long ago? At such times, it is not others making us suffer more, but ourselves, pulling the darkness back in. Forgiveness is the decision to stop pulling that darkness back. Forgiveness is allowing ourselves to step out of the loop of memory. Only when we are no longer bound by the past can we truly live fully in the present. A short story from the Buddhist scriptures tells of two monks walking along a muddy road. They came across a woman unable to cross the mud, and one monk carried her across. Later, the other monk reproached him. "We are monks. Why did you touch a woman?" The first monk smiled. "I already put her down on the other side long ago, but you, why are you still carrying her in your mind?" The story reminds us that sometimes we are the ones clinging to what has already passed. Forgiveness is putting things down so we don't carry them further along our journey. In modern life, comparison is also a cause that makes forgiveness difficult. We often compare ourselves with others. Why are they favored more? Why do I suffer more losses? From there comes resentment and anger. But such comparisons only tire us. Forgiveness in this case is not only forgiving people, but also forgiving life's differences. Forgiveness is accepting that everyone has their own path, and that our path also has its own value. A useful practice before sleep is letting go of comparison. Tell yourself, "Today I did my best. I don't need to be like anyone else. I forgive myself for my shortcomings, and I am grateful for what I have." These words are like a light blanket covering the mind, helping sleep come in peace. Forgiveness is also medicine for loneliness. When we hold grudges, we build walls separating us from the world. But when we forgive, those walls disappear and we reconnect with others. Forgiveness is not only a spiritual act, but also a bridge restoring human connection. When that bridge is built, we are no longer alone in pain, but shared and understood. And when hearts connect again, sleep becomes warmer. In friendships, forgiveness plays an important role in keeping them lasting. No friendship is perfect. There will always be misunderstandings and conflicts. If we do not forgive, that friendship will soon crack. But if we know how to let go, we will preserve precious companions. Forgiveness in friendship is accepting each other's shortcomings so the bond can endure. Forgiveness is also a form of courage. Many think forgiveness is weakness, but in truth it requires great strength. It takes courage to face pain, to say the words of letting go, to choose peace instead of revenge. One who forgives is not the loser, but the one who conquers themselves. And that victory is the noblest, for it brings inner freedom. You can try a simple visualization before sleep. Imagine yourself walking down a road, carrying a heavy backpack. Each time you forgive a person or an event, the backpack becomes lighter. By the end of the road, when nothing remains in the backpack, you walk freely, unburdened. Sleep is the same. It is only truly peaceful when you have laid down all burdens before closing your eyes. Forgiveness also helps us see that life is more beautiful than we thought. When anger is gone, flowers appear more vivid, birds sing more clearly, sunlight feels warmer. Forgiveness is like wiping dust from our eyes, letting us see the world in purity. And in that world, sleep is no longer just a temporary escape, but part of joy itself. Ultimately, forgiveness is the journey that leads us to freedom. Freedom is not doing everything we want, but not being controlled by negative emotions. Forgiveness helps us attain that freedom. When we forgive, we are no longer chained by the past, no longer driven by anger. We are free to love, to be happy, to rest in peace. So before closing your eyes, ask yourself, who am I still holding in my heart? Can I forgive so my mind can be lighter? Even a single yes is enough to enter sleep with the wings of freedom. Sometimes forgiveness is not only for others, but even more importantly, for ourselves. We often show compassion for others' mistakes, yet remain harsh with ourselves. A mistake in the past, an imperfect decision, a careless word that hurt someone. All of these cling tightly in our minds, leaving guilt and regret. But if we do not learn to forgive ourselves, how can we truly live in peace? Forgiving ourselves does not mean denying mistakes, but acknowledging that we were once not wise enough, and that like everyone else, we too have moments of weakness and failure. Forgiveness is accepting ourselves in imperfection and giving ourselves the chance to begin again. Only when we look at the past with compassion can we truly grow, and sleep becomes more peaceful because we no longer punish ourselves in our dreams. In the Buddha's teaching, there is a beautiful word, metta, loving kindness. Loving kindness is not only directed outward but also inward. If we constantly scold ourselves, we are lacking loving kindness toward our true selves. Forgiving ourselves is an expression of loving kindness, an act of self-compassion, a gentle lullaby soothing us to rest, a small practice before bed. Recall an old mistake you often blame yourself for. Instead of letting reproach echo, place your hand on your chest and whisper, I have learned the lesson. I forgive myself. I allow myself to rest. Just these words are enough to calm the heart, letting sleep come like an embracing kindness. Forgiving ourselves also opens the door to forgiving others. When we realize that we ourselves are not perfect, we become more compassionate toward others' imperfections. Conversely, when we cannot forgive ourselves, we often struggle to forgive anyone else. Forgiveness, therefore, begins within, then radiates outward. A simple image. Imagine you are holding a notebook filled with all your mistakes. Each page is heavy with words. If you keep carrying that notebook, you will never feel light. Forgiving yourself is daring to set the notebook down, or at least daring to write one last page. I forgive myself. Then the notebook is no longer a sentence, but a diary of growth. In modern life, many people fall into the trap of perfectionism. They want to always be right, always be competent, always be strong. But that perfectionism makes them punish themselves whenever they fail. Forgiving yourself is daring to admit that you don't need to be perfect to be worthy of love. You only need to be yourself, a human being learning and growing each day. When we understand this, we live more lightly and sleep becomes gentler. Forgiving yourself is also about letting go of the past. There are things we wish we had done differently, but the past cannot be changed. The more we cling to if only, the more we suffer. Forgiveness is accepting that the past belongs to the past, and the present is where we can begin again. Forgiveness, therefore, is an act of living in the present. A story. A man once made mistakes that hurt his family. For years, he tormented himself and denied his right to happiness. One day during a retreat, his teacher told him, "You have imprisoned yourself in the jail of regret. Forgiving yourself is not forgetting the mistake, but opening the door of that jail to step out. You have paid enough. Now live a new life." Hearing this, he wept. From then on, he slept better because sleep was no longer an escape, but true rest. Forgiving yourself also means stopping the negative words directed at yourself. Many people, before sleeping, often scold themselves. "I'm useless, I'm wrong, I'm not worthy." But those words are like needles piercing the heart, preventing any rest. Replace them with something gentler. "I did my best, tomorrow will be better." That is how we plant the seeds of forgiveness, so that one day the tree of life blossoms with peace. Forgiving yourself also helps you find new motivation. When no longer bound by guilt, you have more energy to create, to love, to do meaningful things. Forgiveness does not make you weaker. On the contrary, it makes you stronger because you are no longer chained by the past. And that strength carries you further along life's journey. Try a small practice before bed. Write down 3 things you regret most. Then write 3 lessons you have learned from them. Finally, fold the paper, place your hand on it, and say, "I forgive myself. I am grateful for these lessons." Then set the paper aside and go to sleep. You will feel your heart lighten as if a heavy burden has been lifted. Forgiving yourself is the first step to living lightly. When you forgive yourself, you are no longer your own enemy, but your companion. And when you are your own friend, sleep feels like a warm meeting with your dearest companion. When you close your eyes, remember, you don't need to be perfect to rest. You only need to be yourself, someone who knows how to forgive, let go, and love. And sleep will come like a blessing, carrying you into peace where all burdens dissolve. When we speak of forgiveness, we often think of overlooking great wrongs. But sometimes what keeps us awake at night are the small, trivial things of daily life. A harsh word from a colleague, an unfriendly glance in public, a criticism on social media. All of these, if not released, can accumulate into dark clouds in the heart. Forgiveness in these cases is not a grand act, but a way of living, a daily practice. Let us think of a lake. Each day, leaves fall upon its surface. If we try to hold on to every single leaf, the lake will fill with debris and lose its clarity. But if we allow the leaves to fall and drift away with the current, the lake remains as calm and clear as it was. Our mind is the same. Forgiving small things keeps the heart from being clouded by trivial fragments, and it is that clarity which brings us restful sleep. In the age of social media, we are easily hurt by comments, even from people we have never met. Some lose sleep over a single unkind word from an anonymous account. But in truth, letting those words harm us is like holding fire to burn ourselves. Forgiveness here does not mean agreeing with them, but choosing not to let their words enter our soul. Sometimes forgiveness is simply passing by without stopping. There are also times when what we need to forgive is not a person, but circumstances. A missed bus, a canceled plan, a lost opportunity, all can leave us frustrated and restless. But if we forgive the circumstance, we see that every event carries its own meaning. Sometimes today's delay opens tomorrow's blessing. Forgiving circumstances is accepting that life has its own logic, and we only need to keep walking with trust. Forgiving small things is also a way to protect our energy. If we dwell on every trivial matter, we drain ourselves like pouring water into leaky jars. Forgiveness is knowing to preserve energy for what matters more: love, creativity, the joy of living. When we know how to choose, the mind naturally becomes still, and when the mind is still, sleep arrives gently. A simple practice before sleep. Recall the small things that irritated you during the day. Then imagine them as leaves drifting on the water. Let them go without clinging. Watch them float farther and farther away until the lake of your mind becomes clear again. This practice takes only a few minutes, but the result is a night of peaceful rest. In Buddhist teaching, there is a saying, "Hatred cannot be ended by hatred. Only by virtue can hatred be ended." This applies not only to great resentments, but also to small annoyances. When we respond to irritation with tolerance, we free not only the other person, but ourselves as well. Forgiveness, no matter how small, has the power to dissolve the poison of resentment. Someone once said that whenever something unpleasant happened, instead of getting angry, they asked themselves, "Is this worth losing sleep over?" A simple yet profound question, for truly very few things in life are worth trading away our peace. Forgiveness, therefore, is not only a spiritual act, but also a wise choice to protect health and joy. Another aspect of forgiveness in daily life is forgiving differences. People differ from us in personality, habits, views. If we cling to those differences, we grow weary. But if we forgive differences, we live more freely. Instead of thinking, why aren't they like me, we can think, how interesting that they are different. Forgiving differences is opening the heart to live more harmoniously with the world. Forgiving small things does not make us weaker. On the contrary, it makes us stronger. For true strength is not shaken by small gusts of wind. Forgiveness turns us into a rooted tree. Though leaves may fall and winds may blow, we remain steady in peace. And it is precisely that steadiness that is the foundation of deep, restful sleep. At the end of the day, as you prepare to close your eyes, you can whisper a simple sentence: I forgive the little things. I will not let them steal my peace. These words are like a promise to yourself that your sleep deserves to be protected. Forgiveness is sometimes just that, a reminder, a release, a gentle smile. But from that simplicity, peace blossoms. And then, as you drift into sleep, you will feel your heart like a still lake, undisturbed by fallen leaves. Forgiving the small things is the way back to that original quietness. From there, sleep comes like a cool stream, carrying away worries and leaving only serenity in your heart. Some wounds in the heart do not come from others' actions, but from unmet expectations. We expect someone to stay, but they leave. We expect work to run smoothly, but it collapses. We expect ourselves to be strong, but we falter at an unexpected moment. When expectations are not met, we feel disappointed, angry, sometimes resentful. Forgiveness in such cases is not forgiving others, but forgiving life for being not as we wished. In the Dharma, there is a fundamental principle. Life is impermanent. Everything is changing. Nothing is completely as we want. If we demand that life run according to our wishes, disappointment is inevitable. Forgiving life, accepting impermanence, is the key to keeping peace within. Forgiveness here means flowing with life, not resisting what is beyond our control. Someone once said, I spent many years resenting life for not giving me what I wanted. One day I realized that what life withheld actually opened another path, more beautiful than I imagined. From then on, I stopped blaming and started being grateful. Forgiving life is like that, stopping the blame to see the lesson and the opportunity hidden behind loss. In modern living, many people easily fall into the cycle of things must go my way. Social media makes us think others always have perfect lives while we are left behind. But that is only illusion. In truth, everyone has their own struggles. Forgiving life's imperfections is how we break free from the illusion of comparison. When we stop blaming, we can finally dwell peacefully in what we truly have. A small practice before sleep. Recall one thing from the day that upset you because it was not as you wished. Then close your eyes, take a deep breath, and silently say, I forgive this. I accept it as part of life. Repeat until you feel lighter. This practice helps you sleep with a mind at ease, no longer struggling with what has already passed. Forgiving life does not mean being passive. It is not sitting still while everything happens. Forgiveness here means not resisting what has already occurred, while still nurturing the strength to do what we can in the present. It is the union of wisdom and compassion. Wisdom to know what can be changed, compassion to accept what cannot. There are also times when we need to forgive the flow of time itself. Many regret their youth, resent losing opportunities of the past, but time is simply so. It takes one thing and gives another. Forgiving time is understanding that every stage of life has its own beauty. When we accept this, we live more deeply in the present and sleep more peacefully each night, no longer torn by the past nor anxious about the future. A small story. There was a man who was always sorrowful because of his poor childhood. He blamed life for not giving him a good start. But one day during meditation, his teacher asked, "If not for that childhood, would you have become the resilient person you are today?" At that moment, he was silent and burst into tears. From then on, he stopped blaming. By forgiving life for having been harsh, he found peace in the present. Forgiveness also means not nourishing resistance in the heart. If a sudden rain soaks our clothes, we can either resent it or smile and say, "The rain is also part of life." See, the difference lies not in the rain, but in our attitude. Forgiving life is changing the way we see it. When we shift our view, the mind relaxes and rest comes more easily. Forgiving life also helps us expand gratitude. When we no longer dwell on what we lack, we begin to notice what we already have. A home to return to, a simple meal, a warm embrace, all are precious gifts. Forgiving life for its imperfections, while being grateful for its small but meaningful offerings. From there, we sleep better because the heart is full of contentment. Before closing your eyes tonight, you can try a small vow. I forgive what life has not given me. I am grateful for what I have. I sleep in gratitude and wake in trust. This vow is like a key, opening the door of peace that leads you into deep sleep. And as you sleep, you will feel resentments gradually dissolve, leaving only gentle acceptance. Forgiving life is the first step to loving life. And when we love life, life too becomes gentler with us. On the journey of forgiveness, there is one form that is very special but often forgotten: forgiving our parents and loved ones. For it is those closest to us who can hurt us the most. A careless word from a father, a stern gesture from a mother, or neglect at the time we needed care, all can leave deep marks in memory. And the more we love, the more easily we feel betrayed. Yet it is precisely because of family bonds that forgiveness becomes the most important key to keeping families strong and our hearts at peace. The Buddha once taught, parents are the greatest benefactors of a human life. But that does not mean parents are always perfect. They too were once people full of wounds and shortcomings. When we understand this, we see that forgiving our parents is not only releasing our own pain, but also opening compassion toward the limits they carried. In modern life, many adults still carry resentment for a childhood lacking love. But if we keep holding on to that resentment, we unknowingly imprison ourselves in the past. Forgiving parents is not denying their shortcomings, but freeing ourselves from the cycle of hurt. Forgiveness is accepting that they loved us in the way they could, even if that way was clumsy at times. A simple story. For many years, a man was angry with his father for being too strict, never offering praise. But one day, looking back through his father's old journals, he found pages filled with worries about his son's future. It turned out that the strictness came from clumsy love. From that moment, he learned to forgive. And that forgiveness not only lightened his heart, but also made his sleep peaceful. Because in his dreams, he no longer argued with his father, but saw his father's smile. Forgiveness in family bonds also means not letting the past dictate the present. If we keep carrying the sorrows of childhood into today's relationships, we will miss the chance to build a new, loving family. Forgiveness is closing the old door to open a new one. When we do this, we not only give ourselves peace, but also offer the next generation a healthier environment. Forgiveness is also essential in love and marriage. Between two people bound together long-term, misunderstandings and hurts are inevitable. A lasting relationship is not one without mistakes, but one with enough forgiveness to move through them. Forgiveness in love is accepting that both are imperfect human beings, yet still choosing to stay and grow together. With forgiveness, love becomes a safe harbor, and sleeping side by side becomes truly peaceful rest. A small practice for relationships. Before sleep, think of a loved one with whom you still have difficulties. Close your eyes and imagine holding a small lantern. You hand this lantern to them as a gesture of forgiveness. Its light not only illuminates their way, but also warms your own heart. And as you let the lantern drift away, your heart feels lighter. In the Dharma, forgiveness is inseparable from compassion. Compassion does not distinguish between family and strangers, but when applied within family bonds, we clearly see its healing power. Forgiving parents, siblings, or a partner not only resolves conflict, but nurtures a gentle current of love within the family. And it is that current that carries us into deep sleep, because we know we are not alone in life. Forgiveness in family also means accepting the differences between generations. Parents may not fully understand their children's times, and children cannot completely understand their parents' sacrifices. If we demand absolute understanding, disappointment is inevitable. But when we forgive these differences, we find harmony. And from that harmony, the family becomes a place of peace, helping us rest after a long day. An important question: what is worth holding on to so tightly that it cracks family ties and costs me my peace? If we answer honestly, we will see most of what angers us is not worth losing sleep over. Forgiveness, therefore, is not only a spiritual act, but also a practical choice to preserve happiness. At the end of the day, as you lie down, you can whisper, "I forgive my parents, my loved ones, and myself. I choose love instead of hatred." These words are like a lullaby, lulling you into sleep in the embrace of family. Whether they are present or not, love is always there. And then, as you close your eyes, you will feel lighter. Forgiving family is not only a gift you give them, but also the greatest gift you give yourself. A heart free of burdens, a complete night's sleep, and a new dawn filled with hope. Forgiveness is not just a gift for others, but a profound journey of healing within. When we forgive, we not only mend cracks in relationships, but also close wounds in our own hearts. Forgiveness, as the Buddha taught, is the medicine that soothes the mind and frees us from the prison of hatred. And if hatred is a burning fire, forgiveness is the cooling rain that extinguishes it, bringing freshness to the soul. In modern life, there are countless triggers that make us easily angry. A piece of negative news, an unjust event, a harsh comment online, all can stir our hearts. If we do not know how to let go, we carry these troubles home and let them creep into our sleep. And so sleep, meant for rest, turns into a battlefield of thoughts. Forgiveness is the way to close that door, not letting troubles enter the sanctuary of night. Someone once asked, "How can I forgive when someone has truly hurt me deeply?" The answer is this: forgiveness does not mean agreement, nor does it mean forgetting. Forgiveness is the choice to stop letting the past control the present. The other may have sown suffering, but we have the right not to keep nurturing it. Forgiveness is reclaiming the right to govern our own mind, not letting others decide our joy and peace. A simple image. Imagine you are holding a glowing red coal in your hand. You may want to throw it at the one who hurt you, but before you can, your own hand is already burned. Holding on to anger is like holding that coal. The first to suffer is you. Forgiveness is not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. In the Buddha's teaching, forgiveness is connected to the wisdom of anatta, non-self. When we realize there is no fixed self, we see that others' hurtful words or actions are only temporary expressions of their minds, shaped by conditions, suffering, and ignorance. With this understanding, compassion arises. Forgiveness becomes a natural fruit of insight, not a forced effort. A small practice before sleep. Recall someone who once made you upset. Do not try to push away their image. Let them appear in your mind. Then imagine they too are just a human being, weighed down by suffering, worry, and insecurity. Silently say, I understand your suffering, I forgive you, I let go so that I may be at peace. As you breathe slowly and gently, you will feel your burdens dissolve. Forgiveness is also a way to protect health. Modern research shows that those who hold grudges long-term are at higher risk of heart disease, insomnia, and nervous strain. By contrast, those who know how to forgive often have stronger immunity, clearer minds, and deeper sleep. Forgiveness, therefore, is not only a spiritual act, but also a wise choice for caring for the body. There is a familiar Buddhist story. Two monks were crossing a river. A woman wanted to cross but could not, so one monk carried her across. When they reached the other side, he set her down. But his companion grew angry and said, "We are monks. Why did you do that?" The first monk smiled. "I put her down long ago, but you are still carrying her in your heart." Forgiveness is like that. If we do not put things down, we will keep carrying unnecessary burdens. In life, we often carry those who hurt us in our minds. Each time we recall them, we weigh ourselves down again. Forgiveness is setting them down, not for their gain, but for our freedom. And only in freedom does sleep come lightly. Another practice you can try. Write down the names of those you still resent. Next to each name, write a sentence of forgiveness. I forgive you, I let go. When you are done, burn the paper as if sending away your troubles with the smoke. This small ritual helps free the mind, affirming that from now on you choose peace over resentment. Forgiveness is not something we do once and then finish. It is a process. Perhaps today you forgive, but tomorrow the memory returns. Do not rush to blame yourself. Forgiveness is like practice. The more you train, the more flexible and light your heart becomes. One day, you will realize that the wound that once pierced your heart has gradually healed. At the end of the day, as you prepare for sleep, remind yourself, I choose forgiveness. I choose peace. I will not carry hatred into my sleep. These words are like a door closing behind you, allowing you to step into the stillness of night. And when you wake in the morning, you will feel lighter, as if you had set down a burden you had carried for far too long. Forgiveness, ultimately, is the greatest gift we can give ourselves. It not only brings peace to each breath, but also nurtures deep sleep, a free heart, and a wide open life. There is one form of forgiveness often forgotten, yet very important: forgiving ourselves. People are often more willing to be compassionate with others, but harsh with themselves. We blame ourselves for mistakes in the past, torment ourselves for missed opportunities, or judge ourselves for moments of weakness. This harshness exhausts the mind and makes our nights heavy with restless sleep. Forgiving ourselves does not mean ignoring mistakes, but accepting the natural imperfection of being human and granting ourselves the chance to begin again. The Buddha once taught, no one can save us but ourselves. When we forgive ourselves, we are reaching out to rescue our own hearts from the prison of self-blame. Self-forgiveness is an act of compassion, a gentle kindness offered to the soul. For if we do not know how to forgive ourselves, we will never be able to forgive others fully. In modern life, the pressure of success and constant comparison makes people haunted by the feeling of not enough. Not smart enough, not rich enough, not happy enough. These feelings accumulate into disappointment with ourselves. Forgiveness here means stopping the cycle of self-judgment, recognizing that we have done our best within the conditions we had. Forgiving ourselves also means learning to see the effort instead of focusing only on the result. A small story. A woman once carried guilt for many years because she was not by her mother's side in her final days. Each night she cried, blaming herself as an unfilial daughter. One night in a dream, she saw her mother smiling and saying, "You have done enough, my child. You only need to live happily." From then on, she learned to forgive herself, and her sleep was no longer heavy. Sometimes forgiving ourselves means understanding that those we love do not want us to live forever in torment. Forgiving ourselves also requires mindfulness. If we let guilt dominate, we allow the past to imprison the present. But with insight, we see that mistakes are simply lessons. Forgiveness here is not about making excuses, but about transformation. When we forgive ourselves, we open the path to growth, ensuring we do not repeat old mistakes. A small practice before sleep: write down 3 things from the day you feel unsatisfied with yourself about. Then, beside each one, write a sentence of forgiveness. I forgive myself. I am learning. Read it again, fold the paper, and place it under your pillow. This act is like a vow to grant yourself peace. That night, you will find sleep comes more easily because you have laid down the weight of self-blame. Forgiving yourself is also a way of nurturing gratitude. When you feel grateful for your own efforts and patience, mistakes no longer seem so heavy. Forgiveness and gratitude go hand in hand, like 2 wings of a bird. Forgiveness helps us let go. Gratitude helps us rise. And together, these wings carry us through the dark nights into peaceful sleep. In the Dharma, forgiving oneself is also linked to the wisdom of impermanence. Everything changes, and we too change. The person of yesterday is no longer the person of today. So why keep blaming an older version of ourselves? Forgiveness is acknowledging that change so we can live more fully in the present. Some people say, "I cannot forgive myself." But in truth, saying this is the same as not believing in your own capacity to grow. Forgiving yourself is also an act of faith. Faith that you can change, that you deserve peace. Forgiveness is giving yourself the chance to love yourself once again. A practice of visualization. Close your eyes and imagine seeing a younger version of yourself, maybe the 10-year-old child or the 20-year-old youth. Walk toward them, embrace them, and say, "I forgive you, I will take care of you." As you do this, you will feel your heart soften, and sleep will come like a gentle embrace from yourself to yourself. Forgiving yourself is also the foundation for restful sleep, when the mind is no longer haunted by if only and should have. Night is no longer a time of regret, but a space for rest. And in the morning, upon waking, you will feel light, as if reborn. Ultimately, forgiving yourself does not mean perfection. It means having the courage to accept imperfection, the love to release self-torment, and the wisdom to turn mistakes into lessons. In doing so, you give yourself the most precious gift, freedom of the heart. And that freedom is the softest pillow, leading you into deep sleep. When we think of forgiveness, we often imagine great acts, forgiving a grave mistake, a betrayal, or a deep wound. But in truth, forgiveness also resides in the smallest details of daily life. Each day we may face dozens, even hundreds of small irritations. A strange look, a careless remark, an inconsiderate act in public. If we hold on to all of them, the heart quickly grows heavy. But if we learn to forgive even the small things, we preserve our lightness throughout the day, and our sleep at night becomes more peaceful. One person once shared, "I used to get upset when someone cut me off in traffic or when a coworker spoke harshly. At night, I would still be mumbling complaints. But when I practiced forgiving these small things, I no longer lost sleep. Instead of clinging to anger, I smiled and let go. Strangely, what once annoyed me now passed by like the wind." Forgiveness in the small things is training the mind, so we do not get caught in the spiral of negativity. In the Dharma, this connects to metta, loving kindness. Loving kindness is like a stream, flowing gently around every rock in its path. When meeting a small stone, the water does not grow angry, nor does it stop. It simply flows around it. Forgiveness in daily life is the same. When someone unintentionally makes us uncomfortable, we can choose to respond with anger, or we can choose to flow like the stream. And when we flow like the stream, our hearts stay clear and cool, and our sleep becomes serene. A small practice you can try. During the day, notice a situation that makes you upset. Instead of letting your mind replay it over and over, take a deep breath the moment you feel irritation and silently say, "I forgive this. It is not worth losing my peace." With repeated practice, forgiveness becomes a natural reflex, helping you remain lighthearted until evening. Forgiving the small things also teaches humility. Sometimes we too unintentionally cause others discomfort. A careless word, a rushed action. What seems minor to us may be something another must practice forgiving. When we realize this, it becomes easier to be compassionate towards small mistakes around us. In modern life, with its pressures and noise, small frictions are unavoidable. If we store them all in our hearts, our minds become like dusty rooms, unfit for rest. But forgiving right from the small frictions is like sweeping the room clean, so that when we lie down at night, the mind is clear and pure, ready for deep sleep. There is a beautiful metaphor. Forgiveness is like the wing of a bird brushing away specks of dust. Each act of forgiveness sweeps away one particle of dust from the mind. Without forgiveness, dust accumulates into thick layers covering the light of peace. But with forgiveness, that light shines again, illuminating our sleep with gentleness. A bedtime practice: recall a small event from the day that annoyed you. Instead of letting it linger, smile and silently say, "That has passed, I forgive it." Imagine yourself sweeping dust from the room of your mind, and once clean, the room is ready for rest. Forgiving small things is also training the mind in mindfulness. When we notice emotions at the very moment they arise, we prevent them from flaring into larger anger. Forgiveness then becomes an immediate act, keeping us balanced. And that balance carries us into peaceful sleep, free of lingering irritations. Ultimately, forgiveness in daily life creates a gentle environment to live in. When we forgive the hurried driver, the busy coworker, the inattentive loved one, we are planting seeds of compassion. These seeds blossom in our own hearts, bringing serenity. That night's sleep, then, is not just rest, but a renewal of the soul that has learned to let go. Forgiveness is not only for people, but sometimes also for life itself. Life does not always unfold as we wish. Dreams are left unfulfilled. Opportunities slip away. Losses cannot be mended. If we cling to resentment toward life, we remain trapped in darkness. But when we forgive fate, forgive what is beyond our control, we discover peace in each breath, in each night's rest. Many carry anger toward destiny. They ask, "Why was I born into this family? Why must I suffer injustice? Why did the one I love leave too soon?" Such questions, if not released, become heavy stones in the heart. Forgiving life does not mean denying these pains, but accepting that some things lie beyond reach and that suffering itself is part of the human journey. In the Buddha's teachings, this is the practice of mindfulness on impermanence. Life is always changing, and no one can hold on to everything. All joys and sorrows come and go like clouds drifting across the sky. Forgiving life is accepting this impermanence so that we no longer struggle against reality. When we stop arguing with reality, the heart becomes light, and sleep comes naturally like a blessing. There is a story. A man lived for many years in bitterness after losing his young wife. He blamed heaven, blamed earth, even blamed himself for not being able to keep her. Each night he cried, his sleep restless. One day he went to a temple and heard the master say, "Tears cannot turn back time, but forgiving life will open a new path." He began to practice forgiving fate, accepting loss as part of the journey. From then on, he found peace again, and the long nights no longer haunted him. In modern life, we easily fall into blaming society, the environment, or even global events. But if we only keep blaming, we will never truly rest. Forgiving circumstances is acknowledging limits while focusing on what we can do. When we are grateful for the small things that remain, resentment fades, giving way to gratitude. And it is gratitude that lulls us into warm, restful sleep. An evening practice. Before sleep, close your eyes and think of 3 things in your life you have never been satisfied with. Instead of blaming, silently say, "I forgive life for not giving me that. I am grateful for what I still have." Let forgiveness flow with your breath, and you will feel your heart soften. Forgiving life is also a way to open hope. When we accept that what is lost cannot be changed, we open ourselves to new opportunities. Sleep in this sense is not just rest, but a bridge carrying us into a new day with an open spirit. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack full of whys on your shoulders. Forgiving life is putting that backpack down. When you lie down without that weight, sleep comes lightly, and you awaken with free shoulders. In the Dharma, forgiving life is also tied to the practice of gratitude. When we are grateful for being alive, for breathing, for experiencing, we see that imperfections are only small parts of a vast picture. Forgiveness and gratitude together become a pair that nourishes peace. And when the heart overflows with gratitude, sleep is simply a return to peace in each breath. On some nights you may whisper, "Life, I forgive you for what has made me sad. I thank you for what has helped me grow. I choose peace." These words are like a prayer, releasing entanglements so the heart can rest. Forgiving life, ultimately, is living in harmony with the natural flow, not resisting, not blaming, simply letting go and receiving. And when we do this, each night's sleep becomes a sweet pause, nourishing the soul for the new day. Forgiveness is not only an inner act, but also an art of living that helps us build healthy relationships at home, at work, and in society. Human beings live in connection. No one exists alone. Yet it is in these closest relationships that we are most easily hurt. A reproach at home, a misunderstanding at work, or a careless act by a friend, all can leave scars. If we do not learn to forgive, these scars deepen into cracks, robbing us of stability and even peaceful sleep. In the family, forgiveness has the power to keep the home warm. Family is a place of love, but also where conflicts arise easily. We often expect too much from our loved ones. When those expectations are unmet, we feel disappointed and resentful. Forgiveness here is understanding that everyone has limits, everyone has moments of weakness. When we forgive, we keep the flame of love alive. And when we lie down at night, the heart is free from burdens, and sleep becomes peaceful. In the workplace, forgiveness helps us maintain professionalism and inner calm. In a high-pressure environment, conflicts are inevitable. If we let anger control us, we grow weary and lose clarity. But with forgiveness, we feel lighter and can focus on common goals instead of arguments. Forgiveness at work not only reduces stress, but also protects our sleep from restless thoughts about colleagues or superiors. Friendship is the same. Lasting friendship does not mean there has never been conflict, but that both know how to forgive. A friendship can end because of a small misunderstanding if forgiveness is absent. But with an open heart, that friendship becomes stronger. Forgiveness in friendship is accepting differences without demanding perfection. And when our relationships are harmonious, our minds find peace more easily at night. In the Dharma, forgiveness in relationships is seen as a form of practicing compassion. Compassion is not only for strangers, but must be cultivated within our closest bonds. With compassion, forgiveness is no longer forced endurance, but a natural choice. Compassion helps us see that others also suffer, and it is their suffering that sometimes leads to mistakes. Forgiveness then becomes an expression of love. A small practice before sleep. Think of a family member or colleague you are still angry with. Imagine they are just like you, with joys and sorrows, moments of fatigue and times of being lost. Silently send them a wish. May you be well. I forgive you, and I hope you forgive me too. When you release this intention into your sleep, you will feel your heart expand. Forgiveness in relationships not only nourishes connection, but also protects you from prolonged suffering. Without forgiveness, we carry anger from work into our homes, from family into society. This cycle keeps the mind unsettled. But forgiveness breaks the cycle. We no longer allow daytime frustrations to become nighttime nightmares. There is a beautiful image. Forgiveness is like a bridge. Without forgiveness, the bridge between two people collapses, leaving both stranded. But when we forgive, we rebuild that bridge, enabling us to cross to the other side. And in the act of rebuilding, we also heal our own hearts. Once the bridge stands again, our minds rest in peace, and sleep arrives as a sweet reward. In modern life, many lose sleep not because of overwork, but because of unresolved tension in relationships. They go to bed upset and wake up exhausted. But with forgiveness, sleep becomes a place of healing. Forgiveness is like clearing the emotional room, so the bed is no longer a place burdened with anger, but a sanctuary for the soul. At the end of the day, you can try whispering a simple phrase: I forgive all that did not go as I wished. I keep only love in my heart. This phrase is like a lullaby, guiding your mind back to peace. In that very moment, forgiveness is no longer a distant concept, but a living practice present in each breath. Forgiveness in relationships ultimately not only helps us preserve inner calm, but also creates a harmonious living environment. Family, work, friendships, all become lighter when forgiveness is present. From there, our sleep itself becomes a refuge, a place for the soul to rest after life's collisions. If you feel lighter after listening, take a moment to like and subscribe to Dharma in Motion. Each small action of yours plants a seed of goodness. There is a very subtle form of forgiveness, rarely mentioned but deeply affecting the peace of our hearts: forgiving imperfection. In modern life, we are surrounded by idealized images: a career that must succeed, love that must be complete, the self that must be flawless, a family as happy as in films. When reality does not match our expectations, we feel disappointed, irritated, even resentful toward ourselves and others. These expectations create pressure, unsettling the heart and making sleep shallow. Forgiving imperfection means letting go of the self that wants everything its own way. Life is never perfectly whole as we imagine. A flower may have a wilted petal, a house may have a crack, a person may have mistakes. If we resist this truth, we suffer endlessly. But if we accept and forgive imperfection, we discover beauty within incompleteness itself. In the Dharma, this relates to the wisdom of non-self. When we understand that the I is not the center of the universe, we reduce the urge to control everything. Forgiving imperfection becomes an expression of non-self, because we accept that we cannot force the world to move according to our will. And this letting go grants freedom to the soul. There is a small story. A Zen master once showed a disciple a wooden Buddha statue with a long crack. The disciple asked, "Why don't you fix it to make it perfect?" The master smiled. It is the crack that makes the statue unique. If we keep chasing perfection, we will never see true beauty. Forgiving imperfection is like that. It teaches us to cherish reality rather than chase illusions. In daily life, countless times we blame ourselves for not fulfilling our roles, not meeting others' expectations, or not succeeding like our peers. If we hold on to these comparisons, we live in a cycle of self-blame and restlessness. But when we practice forgiving our own imperfections, our hearts feel lighter. Forgiveness here means accepting ourselves as ordinary human beings, with strengths and weaknesses, successes and failures. A bedtime practice. Close your eyes and recall one thing from the day you felt was imperfect. It may be a clumsy word, an unfinished task, or a less than perfect decision. Then place your hand on your chest and whisper, "I forgive this imperfection. I am learning and growing." When you do this, the mind softens and sleep comes more easily. Forgiving imperfection also helps us become less harsh with others. When we accept that we ourselves are not perfect, we can more easily accept the imperfections of family, friends, and colleagues. Instead of expecting them to always match our wishes, we can recognize their efforts and appreciate them. Forgiveness here does not mean ignoring mistakes, but opening the heart to see the beauty in incompleteness. In the age of social media, where everyone displays a polished image, forgiving imperfection becomes even more important. Otherwise, we are drawn into the spiral of comparison, constantly feeling inadequate. But the truth is, no one is perfect. Everyone carries cracks they do not show to others. When we forgive imperfection, we protect our hearts from illusion and preserve inner peace. Imagine this. If a flower had to be flawless to be called beautiful, then in the garden we would never find any flowers. But precisely because each flower is different, each with its flaws, the garden blooms in brilliance. Humans are the same. Forgiving imperfection allows us to see the world as more diverse and abundant. Before sleep, you can practice a small visualization. Imagine a garden filled with many kinds of flowers. Each flower has scratches or wilted petals, yet the whole garden is full of vitality. Tell yourself, "I am like these flowers, imperfect, yet whole in my own way." This feeling will soothe your mind and help you enter a peaceful sleep. Forgiving imperfection, ultimately, is forgiving life itself. Life always contains disappointments, but it is precisely this that makes it real and precious. When we release the craving for absolute perfection, we discover serenity. And once the heart is at peace, sleep becomes a sweet gift of life. There is an important aspect of forgiveness that many people often forget: forgiving the past. Each of us carries unpleasant memories, a hurtful word, a wrong decision, a loss we could not mend. These memories may have occurred long ago, yet if we do not forgive, they still live in our minds each day, like silent shadows causing restlessness and sleepless nights. Forgiving the past does not mean denying what happened. The pain was real, the tears were real, the wounds were real. But if we let the past dominate, we live forever in its prison. Forgiving the past is a way of telling ourselves, "That has passed, and I no longer allow it to control my present." It is an act of courage, a mark of spiritual maturity. In the Dharma, this is connected to the practice of letting go. The Buddha taught that all things are impermanent, even suffering. If we cling to the past, we resist impermanence, and that resistance brings more pain. When we let go, we live in harmony with reality's flow. Forgiving the past allows us to live fully in the present, instead of being dragged backward into lost days. A woman once shared that for 20 years, she could not sleep peacefully because she hated her unfaithful husband. Though divorced, the wound in her heart never healed. Only when she learned to forgive the past, not the act of betrayal but the heavy memories she carried, did she rediscover restful sleep. She said, "Forgiveness does not change the past, but it changes my present and future." In modern life, forgiving the past becomes even more important. Many people are haunted by career failures, mistakes in love, or choices they regret. They go to bed with a heavy heart of regret and wake up still burdened. But forgiving the past means putting that weight down. When we let go, sleep becomes a new beginning instead of a continuation of torment. A small practice before sleep. Write down one event from the past that still troubles you. Then read it again and quietly say, "This has passed. I forgive it. I leave it in the past." We fold the paper and set it aside. This act is like putting an old object into storage so it no longer clutters the room of your mind. Forgiving the past is also a way of nurturing compassion for yourself. For if you keep clinging to the past, the one who suffers is not those in the story, but you. When you forgive, you are giving yourself the gift of freedom, and that freedom allows you to fall asleep without the drag of old shadows. Imagine this. You are standing beside a river, holding a stone that represents the pain of the past. You can grip it tightly and feel its weight, or you can release it into the water. As it sinks, the surface returns to stillness. Forgiving the past is just like that. When you let go, your heart becomes calm like the surface of a lake, and sleep arrives as gently as the breeze. In the Dharma, there is a principle. The present moment is all we truly have. The past is gone. The future has not yet come. Only the present exists. Forgiving the past helps us live fully in the present. So each night's rest is no longer pulled back to days long gone, but becomes a sweet pause in the flow of existence. Before sleep, you may whisper, "I release the past. I cherish the present. I open my heart to a new tomorrow." These words become the key to unlock peace, carrying you into deep and restful sleep. Forgiving the past, in the end, is not only an act of liberation, but also a promise to yourself. From now on, I choose to live in peace. When that promise takes root in the heart, night is no longer the darkness of old memories, but the soft blanket of renewal and hope. When we speak of forgiveness, we often think of others, of the past, of things already done. Yet there is something more subtle. Forgiving the thoughts within our own mind. Often it is not outside events that exhaust us, but the cycles of thoughts repeating endlessly. A story replayed, a word not forgotten, an image that hurts. All arise, leaving the mind without rest. Forgiving those thoughts means learning to notice them, smile at them, and gently lay them down. In meditation, there is the concept of the monkey mind, the mind that constantly jumps from branch to branch. Just like a restless monkey, our mind leaps without pause, clinging to old memories or anxious futures. If we cannot let go, this monkey mind robs us of peace and sleep. Forgiving the mind here means not blaming yourself for such thoughts, but watching them lightly, like clouds drifting across the sky. A practitioner once shared that every night before sleep, his mind was filled with restless thoughts. Instead of resisting or scolding himself for overthinking, he began to practice forgiving those very thoughts. He told himself, "Hello, I see you are here, but I don't need to hold on to you forever." That simple reminder gradually became the key that helped him find calm and ease into sleep. In the Dharma, this is precisely the practice of mindfulness. When a thought arises, we simply note, this is a thought about the past. This is a worry about the future. Then we breathe in, breathe out, smile, and let it drift away. Forgiving thoughts does not mean rejecting or suppressing them, but letting them come and go naturally, leaving no trace. In reality, many people lose sleep because they blame themselves too much. They ask, "Why do I keep thinking about this? Why can't I let it go?" That very self-blame makes the mind even more tense. But if we can forgive ourselves for overthinking, then those thoughts are no longer enemies. They are just visitors who come by, and we have the right to smile and let them go. A small practice before sleep. Sit or lie down comfortably, close your eyes. When a thought appears, instead of forcing it away, imagine yourself sitting by a river. Each thought is a leaf falling into the water and floating downstream. You just watch, without interfering. Silently say, "I forgive you. You may go now." Repeating this, you will feel your mind gradually settle. Forgiving thoughts also means learning not to identify ourselves with them. In modern life, we often think, "I am my thoughts," but the truth is otherwise. The Buddha taught that thoughts are only passing clouds in the sky of the mind. The sky remains vast and blue, even when clouds gather. When we understand this, we stop letting negative thoughts define who we are. Forgiving thoughts is how we return spaciousness to the soul. There is a beautiful image. Forgiving thoughts is like tidying up a room before bed. If we leave everything messy, chairs overturned, books scattered, clothes piled up, the room feels cramped and stifling. But when we tidy up, the room becomes open and comfortable. The mind works the same way. Forgiving thoughts means not letting them pile up endlessly, but giving them a way out. And once the mind is cleared, sleep becomes true rest. In today's society, with endless information and pressure, the human mind is easily overloaded. If we don't know how to forgive our thoughts, we carry work, news, and social media into our sleep. But if we can breathe deeply, let go, and forgive all the thoughts we haven't set aside, the night becomes a gentle friend, guiding us back to stillness. Before drifting into sleep, you can softly say, "I am not my thoughts. I forgive all the thoughts that just came. I choose peace." This affirmation works like a mantra, easing the mind's burdens and letting everything fall away. Forgiving thoughts ultimately is forgiving ourselves, because those thoughts are a part of us, but they do not define us entirely. When we learn to smile at them and forgive them, we are also learning to love ourselves in our imperfection. And as that love grows, sleep becomes a natural gift, as light as the breath. There is one very special kind of forgiveness, sometimes the hardest of all. Forgiving those who never say sorry. In life, we may meet people who deeply wound us, but never acknowledge their mistakes. Some remain silent, some deny, and some even justify their actions. This makes us angrier, feeling abandoned in our pain. Many nights we lie awake, wondering why they never admitted their fault, why they live at ease while we suffer. At such times, forgiveness becomes an inner journey, one that does not wait for anyone's apology. Forgiving those who never apologize does not mean we agree with what they did. Forgiveness here is a decision of the heart. We choose not to let their actions continue to imprison us in hatred. We let go not because they deserve it, but because we deserve peace. If we keep waiting for an apology, we may never hear it in this lifetime. But if we choose forgiveness, we can begin our freedom right now. In the Dharma, compassion does not depend on the actions of others, but arises from our own hearts. The Buddha once taught, "Hatred cannot extinguish hatred. Only love can extinguish hatred." When others cannot apologize, perhaps they are still bound by ignorance. If we also hold on to hatred, we are pulled into that same cycle. But when we forgive, we choose to step outside the cycle, choosing the bright path of compassion and wisdom. There is a story of a prisoner who, after being released, still harbored deep resentment against the one who falsely accused him. A friend advised, "You have already left the prison. Why do you still let your mind remain locked in hatred?" Forgiving someone who never apologizes is just like that. We open the prison door of the heart and step out. In modern life, we often encounter such situations. a colleague who competes unfairly, a friend who betrays trust, or a family member who causes pain yet never admits fault. If we keep waiting for an apology, the wound will never close. But forgiveness, in this case, is like bandaging ourselves, allowing the wound to heal. A small practice before sleep. Think of someone who once hurt you but never apologized. Instead of waiting, tell yourself, I don't need your apology to be at peace. I forgive you to free myself. Then take a deep breath, exhale, and imagine resentment dissolving like clouds of smoke. Practiced regularly, you will feel lighter and sleep will come more gently. Forgiving those who never apologize is also how we reclaim ownership of our own minds. If we don't forgive, we unintentionally let them control our emotions, even in their absence. But when we forgive, we affirm that we hold the key to peace. They may never change, but we have changed. And that change is enough to set us free. You may wonder, if I forgive, won't they think I'm weak? The truth is that forgiveness is not weakness, but strength. Only a strong heart can let go of resentment without needing acknowledgement from the one who caused the pain. Forgiveness here is not for others to see. It is for us to live in lightness. Here is a simple image to remember. Forgiving those who never apologize is like releasing a kite with a broken string. If you hold on, your hands will hurt. But if you let go, the kite flies away with the wind, and you are free. Forgiveness is exactly that release, gentle, decisive, and liberating. Before going to sleep, try placing your hand on your chest and softly saying to yourself, I no longer wait for anything from you. I choose peace for myself. That sentence is like a lullaby carrying you into deep rest, free from the weight of those who never apologized. Forgiving those who do not apologize, in the end, is the greatest gift you can give yourself. The night becomes a place of rest, not a battlefield where the mind chews over old wounds. With forgiveness, you not only preserve peace for your sleep, but also open a lighter, freer morning. Another vital form of forgiveness is forgiving what cannot be changed. In the journey of life, there are events beyond our control. Sudden illness, unexpected accidents, relationships that end despite all efforts, or the passing of loved ones. Such things often leave profound pain. If we keep blaming fate, circumstances, others, or even ourselves, we remain trapped in the cycle of torment. Forgiving what cannot be changed means learning to accept reality and letting go of resentment so the heart can be at peace. In the teaching of impermanence, the Buddha reminds us that all things change. Nothing is everlasting. When something is lost, it has already passed away as part of the natural law. To resist this is to create more suffering. Forgiving what cannot be changed is to accept that life always has its turns, and our task is not to fight them, but to move through them with calm. There is an old story. A mother, devastated by the death of her child, begged the Buddha to bring the child back. The Buddha told her, "Find me a mustard seed from a house where no one has ever died." She went everywhere, but every house bore the mark of loss. Then she realized that death is universal, inevitable. Her tears flowed, but now not with bitterness, rather with release. From that moment, she began to find peace again. The story teaches us that forgiving what cannot be changed is a profound step in spiritual maturity. In modern life, many lose sleep because of the endless why questions. Why didn't I succeed? Why didn't they stay? Why is fate unfair? These questions grow heavier the longer they are carried, yet never yield an answer. Forgiveness here does not mean abandoning effort or growth, but accepting the limits of life. Through acceptance, we discover how to continue forward with lightness. A small evening practice. Recall something in your life that caused suffering because it could not be changed. Instead of asking why again, gently tell yourself, I don't need an answer anymore. I forgive the circumstance. I choose peace. breathe deeply and imagine resentment dissolving into the night like mist. Then the mind softens and sleep comes more naturally. Forgiving what cannot be changed is also a way of cultivating gratitude. When we accept loss, we can better see what remains. Instead of staring at the door that has closed, we notice the doors still open. Gratitude for what is present lets us live more deeply with reality. Forgiving fate is how we return freedom to the heart, no longer bound by the past. There is a beautiful image. Life is like a river. Whether we want it or not, the water flows. Time moves on. If we try to hold water in our hand, it slips away through our fingers. But if we open our hand, we can feel the cool current passing through. Forgiving what cannot be changed is opening that hand to see that life still continues and that we can still smile. In the Dharma, the spirit of letting go does not mean giving up. Letting go is wisdom, an understanding that some things lie beyond our reach, and what truly matters is learning to walk through them with a calm heart. Forgiving what cannot be changed is a healing form of release. It does not erase the pain, but transforms it into a lesson. And when we sleep in that state of mind, rest becomes true rest, not a struggle with memories or regrets. Before closing your eyes, you might softly say, "Life is not perfect, but I accept it. I forgive what I cannot change. I am at peace." This prayer is like a small light in the dark, guiding your spirit into deep and gentle sleep. Forgiving what cannot be changed in the end is how we reconcile with life. When we stop resisting reality, we discover we are no longer alone, but part of a greater flow. In that release, we are no longer victims of fate, we become free. And that freedom gives the mind tranquility, the heart serenity, and sleep the sweetness of a gift. Another often overlooked dimension of forgiveness is forgiving unfulfilled expectations. Throughout life, we set many hopes. That loved ones will understand us, that friends will keep their promises, that work will go smoothly, that love will remain whole. But life rarely bends to our will. When expectations collapse, we feel let down, disappointed, even resentful. If held too long, those emotions become silent wounds, making it hard to find the peace needed for restful sleep. Forgiving unmet expectations is learning to accept that life is not perfect and opening our hearts to keep moving forward. In the teaching of dependent origination, the Buddha explained that everything arises through conditions. When the conditions are not sufficient, events cannot unfold as we wish. Understanding this, we blame ourselves and others less, and instead cultivate compassion. Forgiving unmet expectations is like putting down a cracked mirror. We no longer stare at the fracture that hurts us, but turn to see the wide open sky. One man once shared that he longed to be a singer, but after years of effort, the dream never came true. At first, he resented himself, his circumstances, and even those who did not believe in him. But as he learned to release expectations, he realized music could still live in his life another way. He became a music teacher, passing his love for song to the younger generation. Forgiving the dream that never came allowed him to find new joy, and most importantly, to sleep without the torment of failure. In modern life, we see this everywhere. A project that fails, a relationship that never reaches marriage, a friend who breaks a promise. If we cling to disappointment, our hearts remain heavy. But if we forgive unmet expectations, our hearts open wider. Sleep, too, becomes lighter because we no longer clutch the should have been that brings us pain. A small practice before bed. Recall one thing today that did not go as you hoped. Perhaps an unfinished task, a word left unanswered, or a plan that changed. Take a deep breath and gently say, "I forgive this expectation. I release it to preserve my peace." I'm in this way, you train your mind not to be trapped in disappointment. Forgiving unmet expectations is also a way of nurturing trust in life. When we let go, we realize that what does not arrive may make space for something even better. A closed door is not the end, but the beginning of a new journey. Forgiveness helps us stop staring at the closed door so we can see the light shining through the open one. There is a beautiful image to remember. Unmet expectations are like fallen petals on the ground. If we cling to regret, we only see loss. But if we forgive, we recognize that those petals enrich the soil, and from them, new sprouts emerge. Forgiving unmet expectations does not leave us empty. It helps us grow, softening our hearts toward life. In the Dharma, the mind of letting go is seen as the path to freedom. Letting go does not mean abandoning dreams or ceasing to make effort. It means smiling even when things don't go our way. Forgiving unmet expectations is the practice of letting go in daily life, from small matters to great ones. And when we sleep with such a heart, rest is no longer a container of disappointments, but a gentle pause to restore energy. Before closing your eyes, you might say to yourself, "I know there are things that do not go as I wish. I forgive these unmet expectations. I trust in the flow of life." This affirmation is like an evening smile, bringing your heart into stillness and guiding you into deep, restful sleep. Forgiving unmet expectations, in the end, is how we learn the lesson of acceptance and trust. Accepting that life is imperfect and trusting that within imperfection there is still beauty. With such an open heart, not only do we sleep better, but we live each day more lightly. Perhaps one of the noblest acts of forgiveness is forgiving our loved ones. This may seem easy, but in truth, it is one of life's greatest challenges. Strangers may wound us, but we forget them quickly. When loved ones, parents, children, spouses, siblings, hurt us, the pain often cuts deeper and lingers longer. Precisely because of closeness, we set higher expectations, and when they are not met, our hearts easily fracture. Forgiving loved ones, therefore, is not merely an act of kindness, but a path to preserve harmony at home and nurture serenity in the heart. In daily life, sometimes just a careless word, a thoughtless gesture, or a broken promise can upset us. We may think, "How could they treat me this way if they love me?" If left unresolved, such disappointments accumulate into hidden wounds that slowly erode family harmony. But if we practice forgiveness, we see things more gently. Forgiveness does not mean condoning mistakes. It means understanding that everyone has weak moments. Everyone can speak or act unwisely. When the heart opens, the family becomes a place of love, not resentment. The Buddha once taught about boundless compassion, to love as a mother loves her child, without conditions. Our loved ones, in many cases, are the very lessons that allow us to practice compassion in real life. Forgiving them is also walking the path the Buddha taught, the path of understanding and love. There is a simple story. A son often grew upset because his father frequently forgot appointments, making him feel disregarded. But when he calmed his heart, he realized his father was aging, his memory fading, not out of lack of love, but because age no longer allowed otherwise. He chose to forgive, and from then on, instead of reproaching, he gently reminded his father with love. As a result, both felt lighter, and their bond grew stronger. Forgiveness here was about looking deeply to see the true cause and offering compassion. In modern life, busyness often leads to friction, even within our own homes. Sometimes we bring work stress back with us and speak harshly to our spouse or children. Sometimes we expect loved ones to understand us, forgetting that they too carry their own burdens. Forgiveness in the family, then, is an art. Instead of clinging tightly to mistakes, we choose to release them gently to preserve harmony. And that very harmony helps us drift into peaceful sleep, free from the weight of unresolved conflicts. A small practice before bed. Recall if someone in your family upset you during the day. Instead of holding on to irritation, imagine that person before you and silently say, "I forgive you because I know you are also tired. I choose to keep peace in my heart." Then smile and take a deep breath. Practiced this way, your heart will soften and sleep will come more easily. Forgiving loved ones is also a way of protecting long-term happiness. No family is without conflict, but if each member knows forgiveness, the home will remain warm. It becomes not only a shelter for the body, but also a refuge for the soul. From that peace, each night's sleep becomes a sweet pause of rest. There is an image to remember: the family is like a garden. If we keep all the fallen leaves, the garden grows dull. But if we clear them away, nurture the soil with forgiveness and love, new flowers will bloom. Forgiving loved ones is just like this. It keeps the garden of relationships fresh and full of life. In the Dharma, forgiveness goes hand in hand with the wisdom of non-self. When we let go of the I, when we stop demanding that others always act as we wish, forgiveness comes more easily. Seeing that everyone is learning and growing in their own way, we no longer cling to blame. Forgiveness in the family, then, is both compassion and wisdom. Before closing your eyes, you might place your hand over your heart and whisper, "I know my loved ones are not perfect, but I choose to forgive, to keep this home at peace. I choose to sleep in love." This prayer is like a warm blanket, wrapping your heart in the night, allowing you to rest deeply. Forgiving loved ones in the end is a shared gift. You extend generosity and you receive peace in return. The night ceases to be a place where resentments pile up and instead becomes a space where love quietly grows, carrying you into deep sleep. Forgiveness is not only the story of the individual or the family, it is also the foundation for building harmony in community. We live in society surrounded by countless relationships, neighbors, colleagues, friends, even strangers we pass by. Each day we may encounter a harsh word, an unkind action, or a small misunderstanding. If we do not forgive, these things accumulate into walls of separation, cutting us off from connection. But when we practice forgiveness, we help cultivate an atmosphere of peace, and in that atmosphere, we ourselves find serenity. Perhaps you have felt this before. Walking down the street, someone cuts in front of you or speaks harshly. If you hold on to the irritation, it can follow you all day, weighing down your heart and even haunting your sleep. But if you know how to smile, let go, and silently forgive, perhaps that person is also rushing, also burdened with worries. Your heart immediately feels lighter. Forgiveness here is not only for the other, but also for yourself, so that your mind is not bound to trivial matters. In community, forgiveness creates a ripple effect. One person's forgiveness inspires others. A group that knows how to forgive becomes more connected, with fewer conflicts and greater trust. The Buddha once taught, "Just as one candle can light 1,000 others without diminishing, the compassion and forgiveness of one person can illuminate an entire community." When we practice forgiveness in society, we help light that candle. There is a story told of a small village where two neighbors quarreled over a piece of land. The conflict dragged on for years, even splitting their families. One day, a monk passed by and invited them to sit together. He said, "The land belongs to the earth. Humans only borrow it for a while. Hatred is what truly occupies your hearts. If you want freedom, return this land to peace." His words rang like a bell of awakening. The two neighbors gradually released their anger, chose forgiveness, and from then on, the village regained its harmony. This story reminds us that forgiveness sometimes brings peace not only to ourselves, but to the entire community. In modern life, competition at work, clashes on social media, or careless judgments can exhaust us. But if we choose forgiveness, we not only protect our own minds, but also nurture kindness in society. Instead of responding with anger, we respond with compassion. Instead of clinging to resentment, we let go. And from there, our environment becomes gentler, more harmonious. A small evening practice. Think of a conflict in your community, perhaps a difficult colleague, a noisy neighbor, or someone who once judged you. Instead of letting their image keep you restless, silently send them a blessing. May you be at peace. I forgive you, so that I too may be free. May practice this way, you will find it easier to sleep, no longer carrying fragments of worldly conflict into your dreams. Forgiveness in community is also how we plant seeds for future generations. When children see adults let go, they learn compassion. A society nurtured by forgiveness will have less violence, less hatred, and more love. Forgiveness, then, is not only a personal act, but a communal responsibility. There is an image easy to remember. Society is like a piece of music. If each person insists on holding a harsh note, the song becomes noisy and unpleasant. But if everyone learns to forgive, the melody turns gentle and harmonious. Forgiveness in community is tuning the collective rhythm, so that all can enjoy the symphony of life together. In the Dharma, compassion does not stop at family but extends to the world. Forgiveness in community is a step along the Bodhisattva path, the path of boundless love. When we learn to forgive even strangers, our hearts grow larger and more inclusive. From that vastness comes deep joy and peace, carrying us into restful sleep. Before closing your eyes, you may whisper, I know the world has many things I dislike, but I choose forgiveness to help make the world gentler. I sleep in peace and I send peace to the community. This vow not only soothes you, but turns your sleep into a connection with the greater flow of love beyond yourself. Forgiveness in community, ultimately, is a gift we give one another. When we forgive, we open the door of peace both for ourselves and for others. Nightfall is no longer a time for chewing over conflicts, but becomes a moment to feel ourselves as part of a vast circle of love. Forgiveness is not only for those we meet in real life, but is also essential for the things we face in the virtual world. In the digital age, we spend much time on social media, where every comment, every glance of comparison, every judgment can leave an imprint in the mind. Many sleepless nights have been caused by a single careless remark online. That is why learning forgiveness in the virtual world is so important to keep the heart at ease and to protect peaceful sleep. Social media often amplifies emotions. A single criticism, even if fleeting, can become a deep wound if we read it over and over. We may ask ourselves, why did they say that about me? What did I do wrong? Such questions become a tightening rope, making it hard to breathe, hard to sleep. But if we forgive, we understand that such judgments are only passing fragments in the vast sea of information. The one who wrote them may have been impulsive or carrying their own insecurity. Forgiving them means releasing the rope so we are no longer bound. One young person once shared how deeply hurt he felt after posting a photo and receiving many comments mocking his appearance. At first, he was sad, angry, and even thought of quitting social media, but then he chose forgiveness. Not because those words were true, but because he did not want to lose his own peace. He realized that people online are also imperfect fragments, and forgiveness helped him step out of the darkness, regain his confidence, and sleep more peacefully each night. In the Dharma, there is an important principle called non-holding. What others say is only passing sound, like the wind. If we clutch it, we suffer. If we let it pass, our hearts are light. Forgiveness in the virtual world is just like that. Instead of holding on to judgments, we let them dissolve like clouds in the sky. A small practice before sleep. If today you felt hurt by an online comment, close your eyes and imagine those words fading like ink dispersing in water. Then replace them with a gentle, encouraging phrase, such as, You are worthy of love. You are at peace. Repeat this a few times and you will feel your heart soften, ready for restful sleep. Forgiveness in the virtual world also frees us from the cycle of comparison. Online people easily display their best sides, success, happiness, wealth. Looking at them, we may feel inferior or resentful. But if we forgive ourselves for this habit of comparison, for the longing to be like others, we return to appreciating what we already have. Forgiveness here is not about excusing others, but about releasing the measuring stick in our own hearts. There is a beautiful image. Social media is like a noisy marketplace. Everyone is talking. Everyone is displaying what they wish to show. If we stop at every sound, we grow exhausted. But if we walk through with a calm mind, we realize the noise is only a backdrop, and we can choose to listen instead to the bell of stillness within our hearts. Forgiveness in the virtual world is precisely that calm step forward. In daily life, countless people lose sleep over an unanswered message, a misunderstood status, or an unresolved online argument. But if we practice forgiveness, we realize that all things are impermanent and everything will pass. There is no need to carry it into sleep. Forgiveness here is simply putting the phone down, taking a deep breath, smiling and saying to ourselves, "Everything will settle. I choose peace." Before closing your eyes, you can try a small ritual. Turn off the screen, place your hand on your heart, and whisper, "I forgive all the noise on the internet today. I return to the silence within me." At that moment, sleep will come like a gentle friend, guiding you into a world of peace. Forgiveness in the virtual world, ultimately, is how we protect tranquility in the digital age. When we let go of judgments, lessen comparison, and no longer allow social media to occupy the mind, we feel lighter, freer, and that freedom itself is the doorway to deep sleep and to a serene tomorrow. Another dimension of forgiveness, seldom mentioned, is forgiving the mistakes of collectives, organizations, or society. Sometimes injustice, shortcomings, or rigidity within systems leave us feeling resentful, disappointed, even bitter. We think of strict regulations, poor decisions, or the indifference of certain groups that caused us hardship. If these feelings linger, they become a heavy burden, keeping the heart tense and robbing us of peaceful sleep. Forgiving society does not mean agreeing with or ignoring injustice. It is the recognition that human society is inherently imperfect. Systems are created by people, and people themselves are flawed. Forgiveness here is choosing not to be bound forever by resentment in order to keep the heart light. When the heart is light, we can see clearly enough to contribute to meaningful change. Someone once shared that his work was delayed by cumbersome bureaucracy. At first, he was furious, losing appetite and sleep. But then he learned to forgive that very imperfection. He chose patience, adapting rather than tormenting himself. From then on, his frustration diminished, and he rested more easily at night. Forgiving society's flaws helped him find peace within. In the Dharma, there is a fundamental principle. All phenomena are impermanent. No system lasts forever, and no structure is absolutely perfect. When we see this impermanence, we become less rigid, less tormented. Forgiving society is simply recognizing the impermanent nature of all things, so we no longer chain ourselves to suffering. A small practice before bed. If today you felt upset over injustice, breathe deeply and tell yourself, "I will not let this resentment steal my sleep. I forgive society's imperfection so I can keep wholeness in my heart." You will feel your mind soften, no longer spinning in anger. Forgiving society is also a way of nurturing boundless compassion. When we understand that systems are only collections of people who are also learning, stumbling, and growing, we open our hearts more easily. Instead of focusing only on flaws, we can see the efforts and glimmers of goodness. Forgiveness keeps our vision balanced, not extreme, and helps sustain long-term peace of mind. Society can be pictured as a vast piece of fabric woven from millions of threads. Some are straight, some are crooked. If we only focus on the crooked ones, the whole picture seems distorted. But when we forgive, when we accept imperfection, we can see that the fabric as a whole still holds its own beauty. Forgiveness in society works the same way. It allows us to see the larger picture rather than being trapped in tiny flaws. In modern life, many people carry social dissatisfaction into their sleep. Anger over a decision at work, frustration with unfair policies, resentment toward group behavior. But if we let these angers fill our mind each night, we will burn out. Forgiveness does not mean passivity. It means preserving our strength, keeping our clarity, and choosing to act with wisdom. Before closing your eyes, you might try this practice. Place your hand on your chest, take a deep breath, and imagine releasing a black balloon, a symbol of dissatisfaction, into the sky. As it floats away, smile and whisper, "I will not let society's imperfections steal my peace. I choose to sleep in stillness." This small exercise helps you set down your burdens and enter sleep with a lighter heart. Forgiving society, in the end, is how we preserve inner freedom. The world outside may remain imperfect, but if we cling to dissatisfaction, we only imprison ourselves. Forgiveness opens the door to freedom, helping us live more lightly and letting each night's rest become an anchor of peace. Let peace spread further by pressing like and subscribing to Dharma in Motion. Together, we keep the wheel of Dharma turning. Forgiveness is not only for people, but also for the events of nature and life that lie beyond our control. Sometimes we grow angry at a rainstorm that ruins our plans, a flood that sweeps away our possessions, or an illness that abruptly changes our life's path. We feel wronged, that life is too harsh. But in truth, nature and life follow their own laws, not anyone's wishes. If we cling to resentment, we only weigh our hearts down. Forgiving fate, forgiving what cannot be changed, is how we protect our serenity so we may live more lightly and sleep more peacefully. In the Dharma, this is called acceptance of impermanence. All things change. Nothing is certain. The storm today will pass, the rainy season will end. Illness may come, but it may also go. When we understand and accept impermanence, we resist less, complain less, and learn to forgive life for not giving us what we wanted. One woman shared that she lost her job when her company collapsed during the pandemic. At first, she tormented herself, blaming fate, and lay awake each night. But later, she practiced forgiving the situation. She realized the pandemic was no one's fault and unemployment was simply a result of impermanence. By forgiving the event, she opened herself to new paths. Strangely, as her heart grew lighter, sleep returned, and she found opportunities more suited to her. Forgiveness here was releasing resistance and accepting life's flow. There is an easy image to recall. Life is like a river, at times calm, at times raging. If we keep blaming the river for not always being gentle, we will exhaust ourselves. But if we forgive, we learn to swim with the current or to find a quiet shore for ourselves. Forgiving life is not resignation, it is acceptance, so we can adapt with wisdom. A small evening practice. Recall something beyond your control that upset you today. It might have been the weather, an unexpected mishap, or bad news. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and whisper, "I forgive life for not giving me everything as I wish. I choose to sleep in acceptance and peace." When you practice this, your body and mind will soften, and it will be easier to let go of tension. Forgiving life is also closely linked with gratitude. When we forgive what is not as we wish, we see more clearly what we still have. health, loved ones, breath. Forgiveness paves the way for gratitude to blossom, and gratitude itself becomes the gentle pillow that carries us into sleep. In modern life, there are countless things beyond our control: rising prices, pandemics, sudden accidents. If we keep clinging to resentment, we will remain restless. But when we practice forgiveness, we reduce anger and save our energy for what we can change. Forgiveness here is wisdom, letting go of what lies beyond our reach to focus on what we can master. There is a teaching of the Buddha: nothing in life is certain except change. When we see this clearly, we understand that forgiving life is the only path to inner peace. Each night, instead of lying in bed blaming the world, we can smile, knowing that tomorrow is a new opportunity. Forgiveness becomes the key that unlocks inner freedom. Before closing your eyes, you might place your hand on your belly, feel the rhythm of your breath, and whisper, "I forgive fate, I forgive impermanence, I sleep in peace." This little prayer is like a cool breeze, carrying you into deep rest. Forgiving life, in the end, is how we harmonize with truth. Life is not perfect, but we can choose to live in peace. Forgiveness is the bridge that leads us to serenity, turning each night from heaviness into a time of rest, healing, and joy. Forgiveness is not only a personal act, but also a collective journey when we live in long-term relationships, friendships, work, partnerships, or small communities. In these bonds, friction, misunderstandings, and differences of opinion are unavoidable. If we cling to every small hurt, the threads of connection will fray. But if we know how to forgive, the relationship becomes fertile ground that nourishes closeness and understanding. There are friends who have quarreled over a careless word. At first, the distance felt impossible to bridge. Yet when one chose forgiveness, choosing friendship over ego, they rediscovered closeness, sometimes even stronger than before. Forgiveness not only heals, but matures friendship. In families, forgiveness works the same way. It is like oil that keeps the wheels of marriage and kinship running smoothly. In the workplace, forgiveness can be the key to peace amid countless pressures. A colleague may make mistakes that cause us more work. A manager may make decisions we dislike. If we let resentment dominate, we carry exhaustion all day and find no rest at night. But if we choose forgiveness, we not only keep our hearts light, but also open the door to cooperation, making work flow more smoothly. Forgiveness at work is not weakness, but wisdom to protect mental energy. The Buddha once taught, "In all relationships, what matters is not the absence of conflict, but the ability to transform conflict with love." Forgiveness is the path of transformation. It allows us to see that others are simply human beings, with their own limitations and imperfections. Recognizing that imperfection makes it easier to feel compassion rather than clinging to resentment. A small practice before sleep. Think of a relationship in your life that feels tense. Don't analyze who was right or wrong. Simply imagine the person smiling and whisper, "I forgive you so I may have peace. May you also be well." This silent prayer not only lightens your heart, but can also open the door to change in that relationship tomorrow. There is a simple story. Two colleagues once quarreled bitterly over a disagreement and stopped speaking for months. One day, one of them decided to write a small note. "I'm sorry if I made you sad. I hope we can start again." The other read it, laughed, and felt a weight lift. They reconciled. In this story, forgiveness didn't just erase anger, it opened a new chapter of greater understanding. In modern life, competition and pressure easily make us harsher. But if we practice forgiveness, we not only keep relationships from breaking, but also protect ourselves from the wounds of stress. Forgiveness helps us relax, allowing sleep to come easily, without the shadows of resentment haunting us. An image to remember: relationships are like a garden. If we don't pull out the weeds of petty resentments, the flowers of connection cannot bloom. Forgiveness is the act of weeding, clearing the soil so love and friendship can flourish. Looking at that blooming garden, our hearts feel fresh and we can drift into sleep with a smile. In the Dharma, forgiveness is also seen as part of the practice of deep listening and understanding. When we listen deeply, we perceive the other's suffering, and forgiveness flows naturally. Forgiveness is not forced. It is the fruit of compassion. And compassion, once present, becomes a warm blanket covering our hearts each night. Before sleep, you can spend a few minutes writing down something you wish to forgive in a relationship. Fold the paper and place it beside your pillow as a quiet commitment. I choose forgiveness so I may sleep in peace. Tomorrow, when you awaken, you may find your heart lighter, ready to welcome the new day with harmony. Forgiveness in relationships ultimately is the art of sustaining happiness. Happiness doesn't come from everyone around us being perfect. It comes from our capacity to forgive their imperfections. Forgiveness is the bridge that keeps bonds intact, giving our hearts a safe place to rest and providing our sleep with a foundation of peace. Forgiveness is not only needed in close relationships, but also in the deep memories we often try to bury. Some events from years past, though seemingly over, still remain like unhealed scars. Sometimes just a small incident in the present can stir them up, tightening the heart and weighing down our sleep. Forgiving those memories is an essential step toward true freedom. Memories, whether joyful or painful, are marks of the past. Yet some painful memories feel like a dark room imprisoning us. We cannot change the past, but we can change how we see it. Forgiving painful memories doesn't mean denying them, but rather looking at them with gentleness and letting them drift away, no longer controlling the present. A man once shared, his childhood was full of violence and lacking in love. He carried anger for many years, and every night his sleep was restless. Later, when he practiced meditation and learned about the Dharma, he understood that forgiving the past was not about forgiving wrongful actions, but about freeing himself from the burden of memory. He wrote a letter of forgiveness to his late father, then burned it as a ritual of letting go. From then on, his nights became lighter and his sleep deeper. In the Dharma, facing memories is connected with mindfulness. When we are mindful, we are no longer swept away by memories, but simply observe them as clouds drifting across the sky of consciousness. Forgiveness in mindfulness is recognizing that memories are not the present, and we have the right not to let them control our lives anymore. A practice before sleep. Recall a memory that once hurt you. Do not push it away, nor drown in it. Imagine holding yourself in that memory, the wounded child, the confused youth, or the lost adult. Whisper, "I forgive you. You did your best in that situation. Now you can rest." By doing so, you open the door to inner healing. There is a Zen story about a young monk who had nightmares every night because of memories of war. One day, his teacher said, "Light a candle in your mind and invite all the darkness to come. Then forgive it because it is only the shadows of the past." From then on, the young monk gradually slept in peace, for he no longer feared the past. Forgiving memories is also the way to extinguish the flames that keep burning in the heart, so that darkness no longer takes over sleep. In modern life, many people carry painful memories, failures in career, heartbreak in love, or losses in family. Those memories, if not forgiven, become heavy baggage that makes each night a struggle. But if we practice forgiveness, we can turn memories into lessons, suffering into motivation, and let the past rest in its rightful place. Forgiving memories also helps us love ourselves more. Instead of blaming ourselves with "if only I had done differently," we can smile and say, "I did the best I could at that time." Forgiving ourselves in our memories is one of the greatest gifts for finding peace. A beautiful image. Memories are like old books on a shelf. Some we want to read again. Some we should put down. Forgiveness is the act of putting that heavy book back in its place, so that the shelf of our life is not cluttered, and we have space for new, brighter books. Before sleeping, you can close your eyes and picture a door. Behind that door is a sad memory. Open the door, look at that memory with compassionate eyes, then smile and close it. Whisper, "The past is closed. I choose to sleep in the present." This small practice will soothe your mind, making it easier to step into deep sleep. Forgiving memories, in the end, is how we reclaim ownership of our lives. The past cannot be changed, but the present is always in our hands. Forgiveness turns scars into marks of maturity and lets each night pass not as a haunting, but as a time of rest and peace. There is a subtle but very important form of forgiveness: forgiving careless words. In daily life, sometimes just one passing remark can sting the heart. A criticism, a comparison, or a thoughtless comment can stay in the mind longer than we expect. At night, its echo may still linger, making sleep incomplete. Forgiving those words is a way to free the soul so that we do not turn someone else's words into chains for ourselves. In the Dharma, speech is considered one of the three karmas: body, speech, and mind. Words can heal, but they can also harm. Often the one who speaks is not aware of the weight of their words. Forgiveness in this case means recognizing that lack of mindfulness, so we do not carry anger within. We forgive not only for them, but also for ourselves, so that we are not imprisoned by the echo of sentences. A woman once shared, as a child, her teacher told her, "You will never succeed." That sentence became a haunting shadow, making her lack confidence for many years. But after learning about forgiveness, she realized that those words only reflected the teacher's limited understanding, not the truth about her. She practiced forgiving that teacher and forgiving herself for believing in those words for too long. From then on, she slept more peacefully, no longer haunted by an old memory. A small practice before bed: recall a sentence during the day that made you uncomfortable. Take a deep breath, then imagine placing that sentence into a small box. Gently close the lid and let it float down a river. Allow the river to carry it away and smile. "I forgive these words. I keep peace in my heart." By practicing this, you will not let those sounds steal your sleep. There is a Zen story. A disciple asked his master, "People's words hurt me. What should I do?" The master replied, "If someone offers you a gift and you don't accept it, who does it belong to?" The disciple answered, "It belongs to the giver." The master smiled. Words are the same. If you do not receive them, they cannot hurt you. Forgiveness in this case is the act of not receiving, so that the heart remains light. In modern life, words are also delivered through messages, social media, anonymous comments. A sentence can cause a sleepless night. But if we forgive, we will understand that behind every harsh word is an anxious soul. Forgiveness helps us maintain compassion and also keeps our sleep from being stolen. Forgiving careless words does not mean belittling ourselves. On the contrary, it is a noble form of self-respect. We choose not to let other people's definitions determine our worth. Forgiveness preserves the wholeness of our inner freedom. An easy image to remember: words are like stones thrown into a lake. If we keep staring, we will see ripples endlessly. But if we leave it alone, the surface will return to stillness. Forgiveness is like that, stopping the fixation on the stone so the lake of the heart can be calm again. Before sleeping, you can place your hand on your chest and whisper, "I will not let others' words take away my peace. I forgive so my heart may be still." When this reminder resounds within, you will feel lighter as if you have set down an invisible burden. Forgiving careless words in the end is how we choose peace. The world may still be full of noise, but at night we can sleep peacefully if our hearts no longer echo with hurtful words. Forgiveness is the soft pillow that supports our soul in restful sleep. Sometimes the hardest thing to forgive is not the words or actions of others, but the mistakes we ourselves have made toward those we love. Guilt, regret, and self-blame can linger for a long time, weighing heavily on the heart and robbing us of restful sleep. Forgiveness in this case is not only something we give to others, but also a gift we give ourselves, a chance to heal and move forward. The Buddha once taught, "No one in this world is without mistakes. What matters is to stop, to recognize, and to transform." Recognizing mistakes is the first step of wisdom, but forgiving ourselves is the door to freedom. If we hold on to self-blame, we are like someone clutching a hot coal, only burning ourselves without changing anything. Forgiving ourselves means letting go of that coal so our hands no longer burn and our hearts no longer feel heavy. A small story: there was a young father who, in a moment of anger, scolded his child harshly. The boy cried, his eyes filled with fear. That night the father lay awake, tormented by the hurt he had caused. The next morning he sat down, held his child, and apologized. The boy smiled, forgiving instantly, but more importantly, the father learned to forgive himself. He understood that anger was just a passing moment, but love remained. From then on, he practiced more patience, and each night he slept more peacefully, knowing he had chosen the right path. In modern life, many people quietly carry self-blame. Some feel they chose the wrong career path. Some regret a relationship they let slip away. Others feel sorrow for not caring more for their parents while they were alive. These regrets can become burdens, trapping the mind in endless cycles of if only and what if. But the past is already gone, and punishing ourselves cannot change it. Forgiving ourselves means acknowledging mistakes, learning the lessons, and then setting them down so we can walk more lightly. A small practice before sleep: recall a mistake you once made. Instead of blaming yourself, write down a sentence of forgiveness. I made a mistake, but I learned. I forgive myself. Then fold the paper, place it under your pillow as a reminder that you deserve rest. In this way, forgiveness becomes a ritual of healing, making sleep deeper and calmer. In the Dharma, forgiving ourselves is also tied to the wisdom of non-self. When we see clearly that we are only part of the flow of causes and conditions, we become less harsh with ourselves. We understand that every action has a cause, and within every mistake lies a seed of growth. Forgiving ourselves is also cultivating compassion, for if we cannot love ourselves, how can we truly love others? An easy image to remember: we are like a child. When a child stumbles, we do not scold, but gently lift them up, dust them off, and encourage them. Forgiving ourselves is the same, extending open arms to our flaws so we can continue to walk forward. A Zen master once said, "If you do not forgive yourself, you will never sleep peacefully, for every night your mind will come knocking and remind you of old mistakes." Forgiving ourselves is locking that door, letting the mind rest and allowing sleep to come naturally. Before sleep, you can place your hand on your heart, close your eyes and whisper, "I am not perfect, but I am worthy of love. I forgive myself so I may rest tonight." This small whisper, if repeated often, becomes a gentle medicine that guides you into deep sleep. Forgiving yourself, in the end, is the courage not to turn yourself into a prisoner of the past. When we forgive, we free ourselves from the chains of regret, so that each new day becomes a chance for rebirth. And each night, as we lie down, We no longer toss and turn in torment, but can breathe deeply, smile, and sink into peaceful rest. There is a subtle yet very important form of forgiveness, forgiving what is beyond our control. In life, countless things happen against our will. A sudden rain ruining our plans, an illness delaying our projects, an unexpected event taking away an opportunity, or an unforeseen accident changing the course of our path. These events may not have anyone to blame, yet they still leave us with frustration and a sense of unfairness. If we cannot let go, we easily fall into resenting life. The Buddha once taught about the principle of impermanence. Everything in life changes. Nothing remains forever according to our desires. When we forget this, we easily become angry and resentful toward fate. But if we understand and accept impermanence, we can forgive even those events no one can control. Forgiving circumstances is how we return peace to our own heart. A common example: someone loses their job due to company downsizing. He did nothing wrong, yet he was swept into unemployment. At first, he resented it, felt wronged, and asked endlessly, "Why me?" Each night he tossed and turned in bitterness. But later, he learned to forgive the circumstance. He realized this event was part of impermanence, and also a chance to open a new path. By forgiving the event, he felt lighter, and restful sleep gradually returned. In modern life, there are countless things beyond our control: economic crises, pandemics, natural disasters. All of these can disrupt our plans and dreams. If we meet them only with resentment, we will exhaust ourselves. Forgiveness in such situations is not resignation, but facing the truth. There are things we cannot change. Forgiveness is letting go of futile resistance to focus instead on what we can do. A small practice before sleep. Recall something today that didn't go your way. Take a deep breath and whisper, "I forgive the circumstance. I cannot control everything, but I can choose peace for my heart." This whisper lightens you, so your sleep is not disturbed by what was beyond your control. There is a Zen story. A man complained to his teacher that too much rain had ruined his crops. The teacher smiled and said, "If you do not want rain, you will suffer all your life. But if you forgive the rain, you will see it also nourishes rivers and plants. Then you will sleep more peacefully." Forgiving circumstances is changing perspective, seeing that every event contains a part of life. Forgiving what is beyond our control also helps us save energy. Instead of staying up late to complain or rage, we choose to sleep earlier so we have strength to face tomorrow. Forgiveness does not erase difficulties, but it eases the burden on the mind. And when the mind is light, we gain the clarity to find solutions. An easy image to remember: life is like a river. Some stretches are turbulent, others are calm. If we only resent the turbulent parts, we will never enjoy the peaceful ones. Forgiveness is allowing the boat of the soul to flow naturally with the current, without getting stuck at any bend of the river. Before sleep, you can try a simple practice. Imagine placing everything beyond your control from the day onto a leaf. The leaf drifts into the middle of the river, and you watch till it disappears. Let that act of release become a ritual, emptying your heart and preparing it for deep sleep. Forgiving what is beyond control, ultimately, is forgiving life itself. Not because life is perfect, but because we choose to live with acceptance and peace. When we forgive in this way, the night becomes gentle and sleep arrives as a gift. Another kind of forgiveness, often unnoticed: forgiving shattered expectations. We often nurture hopes about an outcome, a path, or a person. When expectations fail, we feel disappointed, sad, even resentful. If we cannot forgive what did not unfold as hoped, we will live in torment and struggle to find restful sleep. In modern life, we place expectations on many things: career advancement, perfect love, understanding friends, family always being present. But reality always changes. Others cannot always meet our hopes, nor can every plan succeed. If we cling to broken expectations, we are like someone clutching shards of glass. The tighter the grip, the deeper the pain. Forgiving expectations means letting the shards go, so our hands and hearts can heal. A short story: a young woman placed all her hopes on her first love. She believed they would marry, but her partner left. She was devastated, losing sleep night after night, asking, why did this happen? Only when she learned to forgive the unfulfilled expectation did her heart become lighter. She realized that love had taught her maturity, and by letting go, she opened a new door to happiness. In Buddhism, forgiving expectations is tied to the teaching of non-self. When we expect too much, we unconsciously place the self at the center, wanting the world to revolve around us. But life is impermanent and conditions always shift. Forgiving unmet expectations is a return to reality. We cannot control everything, but we can choose our attitude. A small practice before sleep. Recall an expectation that was not fulfilled today. Maybe a forgotten promise, a ruined plan, or an abandoned dream. Take a deep breath and whisper, I forgive this. I release the expectation to keep peace in my heart. Then imagine placing the expectation on a small boat, letting it drift into the sea. As the boat fades away, smile and feel the lightness spreading within. A Zen master once said, do not sleep with shattered expectations in your heart, for they will turn into nightmares. Forgive before sleep, so the mind rests as calmly as an autumn lake. This teaching reminds us that forgiveness is not only for the day, but also the key to peace at night. Forgiving unmet expectations does not mean abandoning dreams. On the contrary, it allows us to keep dreaming, but to dream with mindfulness, without attachment, without demand. We learn to sow seeds and nurture them, but not suffer when flowers do not bloom in season. Forgiveness is accepting that some flowers only bloom when conditions are right, and some flowers are simply not ours to hold. An easy image to remember: expectations are like kites. We can release them, cherish them, but if the wind does not favor us, the kite may fall. If we only resent the wind, we will exhaust ourselves. But if we forgive, we will see that every time we fly a kite, whether it soars high or falls, is still a precious experience. Before sleep, you can place your hand on your chest and softly repeat, I forgive the expectations that were not fulfilled. I open my heart to tomorrow with freshness. In doing so, you free your heart from the weight of what was left incomplete, letting sleep arrive gently. Forgiving expectations, in the end, is forgiving life itself for not going according to our plans. Yet it is in those surprises that we discover lessons and strength. Forgiveness does not weaken us. It makes us flexible, soft, like flowing water. And it is that softness that will lull us into deep sleep, so that when morning comes, we are ready to continue our journey. There is another subtle but necessary kind of forgiveness: forgiving silence. In life, there are moments when we long for an explanation, an apology, or even just a word of care. But instead, we receive only silence. Silence can weigh heavier than 1,000 words, pulling down the heart. If we cannot forgive, we may carry that emptiness inside, tossing and turning at night, unable to rest. Silence has many causes. Some remain silent because they do not know what to say. Some remain silent out of fear. Some are silent because they lack the courage to face the truth. And sometimes silence is their way of protecting themselves. If we see silence only as rejection or abandonment, we hurt ourselves even more. But if we forgive, we will see that silence does not define our worth. It is merely the limit of another's ability to express. A woman once shared that she longed for her mother to say, "I am proud of you," too. But throughout the years, her mother never spoke those words. At first, she blamed, resented, and even felt she was not good enough. But later, when she learned forgiveness, she realized her mother's love was in every meal prepared, every piece of clothing provided. She forgave her mother's silence, and her heart grew lighter. At night, she slept more peacefully, no longer waiting for words that were never hers to claim. In Buddhism, forgiving silence is also a practice of compassion. We look deeply to see that everyone carries their own fears and limitations. When we see the causes behind silence, our anger and blame lessen. Forgiveness here does not mean accepting every absence, but choosing peace within instead of aching for what we cannot demand. A small practice before sleep. If you feel hurt by silence, sit quietly for a few minutes, close your eyes, breathe deeply and slowly, then whisper, "I forgive this silence. I will not let it steal my peace." Imagine that silence as a cloud drifting across the sky, gradually dissolving, leaving your inner sky clear and bright. In today's world of social media, silence often appears as no response. A message left unread, a call unanswered, a post ignored. Such small things can make us feel forgotten. But if we forgive, we realize that everyone has their own world and their own concerns. Forgiving silence is how we keep emptiness from becoming a wound. There is a beautiful image. Silence is like the pauses in a piece of music. Without pauses, the music would become noisy and unbalanced. Forgiving silence is learning to accept it as a natural part of life. When we accept, we no longer see silence as punishment, but as an opportunity to listen to ourselves. Before sleep, you can try writing down a silence that once caused you pain. Then, instead of blaming, continue writing, "I forgive this silence. I choose peace." Fold the paper, place it on the table, and remind yourself that you have set it aside from your mind. By doing so, sleep will come more gently, for the heart is no longer waiting for a reply that never came. Forgiving silence, in the end, is how we give ourselves the voice of peace. We are no longer bound by someone else's emptiness, but instead fill it with our own compassion and understanding. And in this letting go, we rest peacefully, so that in the morning we awaken with a wider heart, ready to continue the journey. If this Dharma talk touches your heart, please press like and subscribe to Dharma in Motion. That is how you help light the lamp of wisdom and compassion in life. There is a kind of forgiveness that is difficult but deeply important. Forgiveness for betrayal. In life, anyone may experience the pain of being hurt by someone they trust. A broken promise, a revealed secret, a violated trust. That pain is often sharp, leaving a deep cut in the heart. Many lie awake through the night because of it, unable to find peace. But if we keep holding on to that wound, we imprison ourselves in the chains of resentment. Forgiving betrayal does not mean forgetting everything, nor does it mean continuing to trust blindly. Forgiveness here means freeing our hearts from the burden of hatred. The Buddha once taught, "Hatred does not cease by hatred, only by love is hatred ceased." When we are betrayed, hatred easily arises. But if we respond with hatred, we only feed the fire that burns us. Forgiveness is the way to extinguish that fire, to bring the heart back to peace. A small story. A man was betrayed by a close friend at work. He was angry, resentful, and sleepless for many nights. But then he remembered his teacher's words. "Others may betray you, but you do not need to betray yourself by holding on to hatred." From then, he practiced forgiveness. Forgiving did not erase the wound instantly, but it allowed it to heal over time. More importantly, he found freedom within, and sleep returned peacefully. In modern life, betrayal can come in many forms. Betrayal in love, in friendship, at work. Social media can magnify betrayal when secrets are exposed or trust is broken before many eyes. The pain can multiply, yet forgiveness remains the only path to saving ourselves. A small practice before bed. If you still carry the wound of betrayal, take a deep breath and imagine that wound as a cut on your hand. Place your other hand over it gently as if bandaging it. Then softly say, "I forgive not because they deserve it, but because I deserve peace." This reminder will ease the ache in your heart, opening the door for sleep to come more easily. In Buddhism, forgiving betrayal is connected with the wisdom of impermanence and dependent origination. We see that every relationship is shaped by conditions, and when conditions change, people change as well. Forgiveness is not agreement with wrongdoing, but a deep seeing that betrayal also arises from ignorance, fear, and desire. When we understand, blame fades and the heart becomes lighter. Forgiveness also helps us reclaim our strength. When betrayed, we may feel weak, defeated, but forgiveness is the act of the strong, for only when the mind is steady do we have the courage to release hatred. Forgiveness is the declaration that we will not let another's actions dictate our lives. An easy image to remember: betrayal is like an arrow. It pierces and hurts. But if we leave the arrow in the heart, the wound will fester. Forgiveness is pulling the arrow out, tending to the wound so it can heal. Though a scar remains, the scar is a reminder that we once endured and grew stronger. Before sleep, you may whisper, "I release the arrow in my heart. I forgive to be free." Let this phrase lull you into rest, so that only lightness fills your dreams. Forgiving betrayal, in the end, is the journey from darkness to light. Not because the other deserves forgiveness, but because we deserve a heart unchained. When we forgive, we step out of the invisible cage, breathing again under the open sky. And in this vastness, sleep arrives as a gift, carrying us into peace. There is a quiet but important kind of forgiveness, forgiving unfinished dreams. Each person holds hopes, plans, or aspirations. Some come true, while others remain only on paper, never blooming. When this happens, many feel regret, blaming themselves or circumstances, even carrying bitterness. Without forgiveness, unfinished dreams become burdens that weigh down the heart and steal restful sleep. In life, not every dream reaches fulfillment. Someone may dream of becoming an artist but must set it aside for livelihood. Another may dream of traveling far but stay behind for family. Some dream of a lasting love but are left only with memories. If we keep blaming ourselves, "Why didn't I?" or blaming life, "Why stop me?" peace will never come. Forgiving unfinished dreams is seeing them with gratitude. Though incomplete, they are part of the journey that shaped our growth. A small story. A man once dreamed of becoming a soccer player. He trained hard, but an injury forced him to stop. At first, he suffered deeply, sleepless for nights. But when he learned to forgive the unfinished dream, he realized the injury had led him to coaching, where he passed passion to new generations. Forgiveness did not bring the dream back, but it opened his heart to embrace a new path. In Buddhism, forgiving unfinished dreams is tied to the wisdom of impermanence. The Buddha taught all things arise through conditions. If the conditions are not complete, the dream cannot bloom. Forgiveness is accepting this truth so the mind does not cling. For every unfinished dream plants a seed, and that seed may sprout differently at another time. A small bedtime practice. Think of a dream you once regretted. Breathe deeply, then whisper, "I forgive this dream for not becoming real. I am grateful it gave me hope and strength. I release it to rest in peace." With these words, your heart lightens, as if setting down a burden before entering sleep. There is a beautiful image. Unfinished dreams are like flowers that never had the chance to bloom. They fall, dissolve, yet become nourishment for the soil, allowing other blossoms to flourish. Forgiving unfulfilled dreams is trusting that life still holds many other opportunities for us to embrace. In modern life, the pressure of success and the constant comparisons on social media make it easy for us to blame ourselves when a dream does not come true. But forgiveness here is telling ourselves, I am not a failure, I am simply walking a different path. Forgiving a dream is an act of self-love, helping us sleep peacefully without lingering regret. Before bed, you can write down a dream that did not come true and one lesson you learned from it. Then fold the paper and place it under your pillow as an offering. That night, you may find sleep gentler because you chose gratitude over blame. Forgiving unfinished dreams, in the end, is forgiving life itself when it does not go according to our plans. But within that imperfection, we learn patience, gratitude, and the strength to continue. When we forgive, we see that even unfinished dreams are beautiful, for they once lit up our hearts. And in that light, we can rest peacefully, waking up to a new morning with renewed faith. There is a form of forgiveness we rarely notice, forgiving our own youth. Youth often carries mistakes, impulsive decisions, hurried choices, or wrong turns. As adults, many look back with regret, self-blame, or even shame. These memories weigh heavily, disturbing our rest, as old images resurface each night. In truth, every youth holds mistakes. Mistakes are not meant to be carried as lifelong sentences, but as lessons for growth. Forgiving our youth is smiling at our younger selves and saying, I did the best I could with what I knew then. I forgive my inexperience. Someone once shared that he had chosen the wrong career, wasting many years of youth. At first, he blamed himself, losing sleep over the regret. But when he learned forgiveness, he realized that those years gave him experience and lessons, and eventually led him to a more fitting job. Forgiveness helped him let go and live fully in the present. In Buddhist teaching, forgiving youth is also a practice of non-self. When we reproach the past, we are still clinging to the ego, the self that thinks it should have been different, perfect. But life is impermanent, humans imperfect. Forgiving youth is seeing the truth. No one walks through life without stumbling. The stumbles are part of the path. A small practice before sleep. Close your eyes and imagine a younger version of yourself. Perhaps the boy or girl at 18 or 25, full of clumsy mistakes. Imagine walking toward them, smiling and embracing them. Whisper, I forgive you. Thank you for trying your best in that time. That embrace will soothe your heart, allowing you to sleep in peace. Here is an easy image to remember. Youth is like a river in flood season, fast and turbulent, easily breaking its banks. Yet through its flow, it leaves behind fertile soil for fields to flourish. The mistakes of youth are the same. They enrich the growth of today. Forgiving youth is accepting that we once lived through a flood, so now we can sit calmly by the quiet shore. In modern life, the pressure to succeed early and be perfect from the start causes many to look back on their youth with resentment. Yet in truth, no mistake is meaningless. Forgiveness is shifting perspective from blame to gratitude. When we are grateful for our youth, we no longer lose sleep over the past, but rest peacefully in the present. Before bed, you can write down a youthful mistake that still troubles you. Then continue writing, I forgive this. Because of it, I have learned. When you recognize the lesson, the mistake is no longer a burden. It becomes a seed for growth. Forgiving youth, in the end, is forgiving ourselves. So we no longer stay up late in regret, but peacefully drift into sleep. And in the morning, we can smile, knowing that even with mistakes, youth was still a beautiful part of the human journey. There is a quiet yet necessary form of forgiveness, Forgiving life's injustices. All of us have, at some point, asked, why must I suffer loss? Why do others have blessings I do not? If such questions keep repeating in our minds, the heart fills with resentment and peaceful sleep becomes impossible. Injustice exists everywhere, in work, in society, in relationships. Sometimes we work hard yet go unrecognized. Sometimes we live kindly yet are misunderstood. Sometimes we love deeply yet are not loved in return. If we cling to the feeling of injustice, we imprison ourselves in bitterness. Forgiving injustice is opening the door of freedom for the heart. A short story. A woman worked for many years, always devoted, yet promotion went to someone else. She was angry, feeling life unfair. At first, her nights were filled with tears and sleeplessness, but in time, she learned to forgive that injustice. Forgiveness did not mean agreement or dismissal, but letting go of resentment to focus on living better each day. Through this, she found peace, and sleep gradually returned. Buddhist teaching says injustice, too, is a form of impermanence. Everything happens due to causes and conditions. We may not see them immediately, but life has its own way of balancing. Forgiving injustice is not passive acceptance of fate. It is choosing not to let bitterness dominate the mind. With a tranquil heart, we see more clearly the path forward. A small practice before bed. If you feel disturbed by injustice, take a deep breath and whisper, I forgive this injustice. I will not let it steal my peace. Imagine injustice as a heavy rock on your back. With those words, you set the rock down, letting your body feel light. That very lightness will carry you into deep sleep. Here is an easy image to remember. Injustice is like a sudden rainstorm. It soaks your clothes, making you shiver. But if you keep raging at the rain, you only exhaust yourself. Forgiveness is accepting that the rain has fallen, and instead of resentment, you find shelter, dry your clothes, and keep walking. Forgiveness keeps us from being trapped by what we cannot control. In modern life, constant comparison and competition make injustice feel even sharper. Seeing others gain more, we easily grow dissatisfied with our own portion. But if we practice forgiveness, we realize that injustice is only a narrow perspective. Each person has their own journey. We need only live fully in ours. With that understanding, we no longer toss and turn over what lies beyond reach, but sleep peacefully in contentment with ourselves. A small exercise. Before going to sleep, recall one thing during the day that made you feel injustice. Then write down 3 things you are still grateful for. When gratitude arises, the sense of injustice will gradually dissolve. Forgiving injustice is choosing to nurture gratitude so that sleep may come peacefully. Forgiving injustice ultimately is forgiving life itself when it is not always fair. Absolute fairness is something that cannot exist in this world. But when we learn to forgive, we learn to rest in imperfection, finding peace even in adversity. And when the heart no longer blames, we sleep as peacefully as a child, knowing we have chosen the path of freedom. After a long journey together through many aspects of forgiveness, forgiving others, forgiving ourselves, forgiving unfulfilled dreams, betrayal, injustice, youth, the past, even the uncontrollable, we can pause here, take a deep breath, and realize that forgiveness is not just an action, but a way of life. Forgiveness does not erase wounds, but helps them heal. Forgiveness does not change the past, but changes how we step into the present and future. Forgiveness is not always easy, but it is always the path that leads us to inner freedom. And that very freedom is the foundation for truly peaceful sleep. Throughout these reflections, we see that forgiveness has many forms, from great pains like betrayal and loss, to small matters like careless words or misunderstandings. Whether big or small, they can weigh the heart down if we do not release them. But when we learn to forgive, little by little, The heart expands and the mind becomes light. The Buddha taught that the mind is like the sky, vast and clear. Anger and resentment are only passing clouds. If we cling to the clouds, we forget the sky. Forgiveness is letting the clouds go to see again the blue sky always within us. When the mind returns to clarity, sleep will arrive as gently as a breeze. A beautiful image. Forgiveness is like opening a window in a dark room. For so long we keep it closed out of fear, out of anger. The air grows stale, darkness surrounds us, but the moment we open it, light floods in, fresh wind flows through. Forgiveness is opening that window so the heart may breathe freely. A closing practice before bed. Place your hand on your chest, close your eyes, and whisper, "I forgive, I release, I am at peace." These 3 phrases are like 3 breaths carrying you into stillness. Forgive yesterday, so today is lighter. Forgive others, so the heart is no longer chained. Forgive yourself, so in dreams, you are free. Forgiveness is not only for sleeping well, but for living well, living with a tranquil, gentle, loving soul. And when we live this way, tonight's sleep is no longer an escape from sorrow, but a sweet pause to nourish a brighter tomorrow. If you have walked with me all the way here, please smile and know you have planted in your heart a precious seed, the seed of forgiveness. Nurture it each day with compassion, mindfulness, and gratitude. Then one day it will bloom, blossoms of freedom, blossoms of peace. And now let your mind rest. Close your eyes, relax your shoulders, release every burden. Let forgiveness carry you into sleep, like a gentle friend whispering, "All has passed, all hatred has dissolved, you deserve peace." May you have a deep, sweet sleep. And when dawn arrives, may you awaken with a light heart, ready to welcome a new day in freedom and serenity. Thank you for listening until the end of this journey. If you feel the peace and lightness from these sharings of Dharma in Motion, please take a moment to press like to spread this positive energy and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss Dharma talks and soul-nourishing stories each day. Each subscription is a wholesome seed planted so that together we can build a peaceful space where the wheel of Dharma always turns, illuminating and supporting life. Wishing you a night of deep rest and a truly peaceful heart. See you again in the next journeys with Dharma in Motion.